Good afternoon, chat. Hello, welcome. Welcome, everybody. This is going to be a great show today because we got an interview. We got an interview with somebody. Somebody's willing to sit down and talk to me, which I'm like, no, I'm shocked as most of you are. But guys, no, this is the Karen Read post-trial. You call it the aftermath of the Karen Read trial, the epilogue, whatever you'd like to call it. And it's the epilogue for Karen Read. It's kind of now the shifting of gears, I think, at this point to Turtle Boy's legal saga full time, but also the newly the saga for Sandra Birchmore. I mean, there's that's another thing that we're going to be able to dive into now. But really, we're still kind of in the afterglow of Karen Read. It's still only a week and a half since she made Hank Brennan suffer, and the rest of the Commonwealth suffer. And we're going to talk to somebody who's been there through a lot of this. And not only that, they are a resident of Canton, Massachusetts. So, that is that. I don't know how much more on the ground you can get than that, because it's somebody here who could talk a lot about what's going on there. And he's a man well-versed in the lore, a lot of different lore. Just talking to him a couple of minutes ago, there's a lot of lore this man knows. So let's bring him on. It is Mike Crawford from the Young Jurks. Mike is an award-winning journalist. And guys, if you don't subscribe to him here on YouTube, he's at the Young Jurks. Also, you can find him at his Substack on Midnight Mass on Substack.com. So take a look over there. But Mike, hello.
I just have to correct one thing.
Yes.
I think I know why you got there. I am not a resident of Canton. I'm a resident of Massachusetts. I did briefly flirt with the idea of running for Canton.
Oh, I thought you lived in Canton.
And moving there. I did. That was
my bad.
It was kind of a, I don't know. Are you familiar with Vermin Supreme?
Yes.
He runs for office anywhere and any place. That was kind of like what I was doing.
Okay. So he trolled Canton. Good enough.
I kind of did, because I was worried about that candidate, but she turned out to be perfect. So I endorsed her. Obviously, I just wanted her to speak on the issues, and I was afraid she wasn't gonna, and she totally did. So we found out she was amazing, and I never ran for Canton Select Board, but I feel like I am. Like, it's funny because a lot of the Canton people say, like, Mike, you're like honorary, like you're like, because I've aired so many Canton Select Boards. I know more about their town than my own town, and I am plugged into my town. Like, I pay attention to my own town, believe me. But I air every single one of those Canton Select Boards. I've become friends with so many Canton residents, and I do have a little bit of a history with that town, even going way back to college. So I am a local Massachusetts person. That is true.
So I apologize. Your chat's all like, wait, that's not true. What the hell? And I'm like, all right, my misunderstanding.
It's okay. But yes, it makes sense. A lot of people thought I was a Canton resident when I announced that I was running. It's funny.
Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. Like you said, it's like the afterglow, but it's also like the aftershock in Massachusetts. Just to hear and see what's shaking down with these jurors, with Hank Brennan, the statements he's made, his brothers on Twitter making statements. A lot of the witnesses are making statements. The media's digging in, even the mainstream media now. The Boston media seems a little more interested in a lot of the stuff we've been talking about the last couple of years. So it's exciting times, and there's so many of us now locally and nationally with the YouTube shows that we're all like allies. We're all like friends now. We all support each other.
Yeah.
Unlikely bedfellows. Like, for me to be hooking up with the Howie Carr Network is just wild. I can't believe it. And even with Aiden, Turtle Boy, I just love that we're all working together no matter what side of the aisle we're on.
Well, no, that's something actually I noticed in this trial. On the Free Karen Read side of it, I guess I'll just call it the white hats and the black hats, easier that way. On the white hat side of it, when I know from talking to you and just listening to you talk and seeing what you've covered, looking through your catalog of videos, there's going to be things politically me and you don't agree eye to eye on, but we agree on Karen Read.
Exactly,
and it's funny because
we agree on exposing corruption.
Yes,
and transparency. Every American believes in that, right?
We believe in the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. Yeah,
right.
We believe in a fair trial.
And I'd rather focus on that stuff. Like, for me, like politics is like a personal thing. It's like, arguing
Yeah.
over your favorite music band. Like it's just like who's right, who's wrong. It doesn't matter. What
Hmm.
matters is, you know, is this real? Is this really happening? Can we do something about
Hmm.
it? So
Oh, I agree. And it was funny because trolling some of the black hats, like I'd been called Antifa more than once, and I'm like, I am the farthest thing from Antifa you could ever
oh,
imagine. Trust me.
Antifa. Yeah,
Yeah,
Antifa.
let me
You
tell
see
you.
that yeah,
Yeah,
the local, like
yeah,
literally like the Nazi crew in
yeah.
town. They used to call me Antifa Radio.
Oh,
Which is hilarious. Now it's like now now I'm like, some people are trying to
yes,
say I'm right-wing radio now because I
yes,
support some of the right wingers in town. So it's like,
yes.
what am I? What am I? I think I'm just
Hmm.
the
Oh,
people radio, I guess, because that's what I feel like
yeah.
I do is I try to put the best voices on
Hmm.
my show. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of times they're experts, but sometimes a lot of
Yes.
Canton residents, they speak their truth. And yeah, so it's funny.
Hmm.
Antifa. I've been called Antifa
Yeah.
too. I'm
Yeah.
not Antifa.
Well, Antifa probably won't let me in. My hair's too white. Yeah, it's a good point. But no, I thought it was so interesting though. Just the amount of that was one of the interesting things here. This wasn't one of these cases where it's like Kyle Rittenhouse or Carmelo Anthony. He's the kid down in Texas who is accused of stabbing the white kid at the track meet. Like that's going to become very political very
Exactly.
quickly. You know, Kyle Rittenhouse, regardless of how you felt, like I think we can all agree, it came out very political very quickly. This
Mm,
one, this one didn't, and I thought that was
no.
really it was an interesting one. It was very
Uh,
interesting in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's because we all decided not to let it happen,
Hmm.
and especially like the leadership, like, if you look at from the top down, like Turtle Boy,
Hmm.
Aiden Carney has been very political in a lot of his coverage in the past.
Hmm.
And on this, he was welcoming to everybody.
Yeah,
Like to me, I said, "Hey, you want to come on?" He may not have been following me and knowing everything about me, but he
yeah,
knew. He knew. The first night, he
hmm,
was like, "I'm going on Mike's show. I think he's kind of a liberal, like
yeah,
what I'm gonna." And he's like saying, like, we're gonna join up and elect, and we're gonna campaign for a George Soros backed DA candidate to replace Michael Morrissey. And I'm like, I'm in with. I'll work with Turtle Boy on that, and like. I mean, that's kinda like what we're doing too. It's
hmm,
like in when I'm watching too, the thing for me is I was watching a lot of these women in Canton who I know a lot of them are actually more liberal,
hmm,
and they're supporting Turtle Boy. And that to
hmm,
me was wild. And I was like, that's impressive. I like that. I like that they are not sticking to party lines and they're just gonna do the right thing for their town no matter what. And I
hmm,
just like the fact that they were all kind of working together, and I was like, "I'm in on that because you know, people can, like I said, people consider me Antifa radio or whatever. But
hmm.
my show over the years, I've had, mostly we started with Libertarian and Green Party people because no one else would come on, and
Yeah,
then we started having Republicans on the show quite a bit, and then finally the Democrats came running over. But we've had every party you can name on our
hmm,
show, and that's the thing I like about our show is so many times I've worked across party aisles. I was working, before this, I was mostly focused on helping workers, cannabis workers, specifically in Massachusetts, who are getting sick at the dispensaries. I'm a total cannabis guy, but I don't like the way they're treating the workers, and there's a worker safety issue. It was getting ignored. And who was ignoring it? The Democrats in the state. And I thought it was wicked awesome and interesting to see some of the Republicans who were running for office. One who ran for um, auditor, Anthony Moore, he come on my show, and he started supporting workers. I'm like, you're supporting the union, you're a Republican, like, so that was wild to see. And there was also a great Democratic candidate, Diana DeZoglio. To see them both trying to get, they were both on our show, they're both competing for votes, and to see them actually get along as well after the election. Those two are like working together, I can tell still. And I felt like I was part of that too. Like that's the stuff that I love is when people cross party lines to do the right thing and work together. Like we need more compromise in this world, especially for the right thing. Like
yes,
sometimes liberals need to go this way and sometimes Republicans need to go this way a little bit. And we just need to, when we can, especially locally, especially these local corruption issues we
hmm,
all agree on. So to me, that's been I love it. And with cannabis, I worked for, doing cannabis way back in the day to get decrim, medical, legal. I was all in those marijuana reform. I was a president of the local uh, Mass Can Normal chapter here. We ran the biggest hemp fest around. And that organization was started by a libertarian lawyer, but it was mostly liberals. But we had tons of Republicans and libertarians that were also part of, we called it a coalition. And we always tried to keep the politics out. We tried, we obviously were courting elected officials, whether it was a libertarian or Democrat, Republican, whoever it was, to support us. And that was the idea, is that we all worked together and we kind of kept our politics out of it. And obviously, we all had different politics, and some people supported these candidates, but we always tried to work together for the common cause, and it worked. And I think that's really what I like to do, is I like to work on causes over the red meat issue on either side.
Hmm. No, I think that's true, and I will say, and I know you guys are covering stuff your local politics here, but I cover a lot of trials, and
Sure.
people see like, oh my gosh, this judge is horrible, or this judge is good, or this prosecutor is good, or it's bad. And this is where I could tell people you have a lot of control over your governance at the local level.
Definitely.
You get to pick the judges who decide how to rule on things. They decide how people are sentenced. But even more importantly, you get to pick the prosecutor, the person who decides what laws they're going to force and how they're going to enforce them. So, I mean, in a way, you get to set public policy. It's very much the same way
Totally.
when you're on a jury. You get to decide: are we gonna punish people for this action?
Yeah.
And
And
you get to hold accountability in your hands. So,
absolutely.
yeah,
And I think on the local level
mhm,
too, like the way I've always looked at it,
mhm,
whether town or state, you
mhm,
have, like you said, you have much more power. I can't affect what's going on in DC, whether it's
mhm,
Trump or Biden, whoever's running the
mhm,
country. They're not going to listen to my YouTube show or whatever I'm doing,
mhm.
but there we can influence them through our local and
Yeah.
state. And just like the marijuana issue, cannabis issue, like we started with decrim in Massachusetts, then we did medical and legal. We're the first state in New England, then every other state did it.
Yes.
So like you do your thing in your state. If it works, then guess what? Other states are going to be looking at it. And next thing you know, it's no longer just 5 states and 10 states and 15. I think it's like almost 40. I don't know, almost most of the states have some kind of protection now for
Yes.
cannabis. And that's how
Even
it
Ohio,
starts.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it starts that
So
way. And, somebody in chat was asking what happened to Trump. Trump folded in half forwards. Hold on, let me see if I can
what's
grab
going
him
on?
real
I
quick.
don't know. Is that your
I had
dog?
a
Oh, you had
no,
a
I have a,
poster of Trump. Stand up. A stand up.
um,
I
I
did
have
see
a
that
Trump,
before.
and he folded in half over. I'm gonna have to get a stick and tape it up, and
You're gonna
I'm gonna
have
have to
to
give Trump a
reinforce that.
spine.
You might have to eliminate him.
So somebody's asking what happened. It fell over. I'm like, no, I didn't take him down. He's not standing up today. So
He'll be back.
yeah,
He
he'll
always
be
comes
back.
back.
I just
It's just like, give him 4 years.
no, but I actually had to order some stuff for later tonight. I have to go to Home Depot and pick it up, and I ordered a couple of garden stakes, and I'm gonna tape one up on his back so he can work. But no, I do think it's the local elections that are the most critical, and
Totally.
yeah, because once you start affecting that, you then can really start, you can build and build and build and build and build from there. Because it's very hard to go the other way. Go
No,
from the
yeah.
president and change the politics that way. It's easier to do it from the ground up. I do very
That
much agree.
yeah, and that's what drove me crazy about the Greens and
Yes.
the Libertarians, by the way. Like, they
Hmm.
they would focus more on the presidential
Well,
race. It's like, why aren't you running the local candidates, you know?
yeah, that's where you can actually win. Like you will
Mm,
win there.
mm.
But that's libertarians are that there's a reason why they're called libertarians. It's because they are just ridiculous. It's what they do.
I've interviewed quite a few. It was, I had, remember Governor Gary Johnson? He was one of
Yes.
the, big interviews I, got way
Yes.
back. That was on a different show we had way back. It was like streaming,
No.
internet radio type deal, but I interviewed
Okay.
him, Jim Gray. Those guys are good guys. I don't
Yeah.
agree with them on everything, but they're good guys.
No, overall they're good guys. Yeah, but there's just the libertarians are their worst
They've gotten
enemies.
a little wild. Yeah. Have you
Well,
ever been to a libertarian like
I,
like
in
conventions or any
in
like
college I had.
parties? Yeah, me too. It's
Yeah,
fun.
in college I did, but I mean, the libertarians now though,
Oh,
they
different.
would they would well, like if Murray Rothbard and Milton Friedman showed up, they'd be
It's
screaming at him and calling them Nazis and running him
yeah,
out the back. Like they'd be running him out the door of clubs, and I'm like, you know, that's like it just that's the problem with libertarianism. Like at this
yeah.
point, it's been co-opted a
It's
little bit.
it's
So
got co-opted. Yeah. I
yeah.
got a friend. It's funny. Back then when I was my libertarian, because I had a wicked libertarian phase. I had a little video with Ron Paul and all that. He's
Mhm.
great. I liked him. But one of the guys I
I
met
love
who
Uncle
ran,
Ron.
yeah, one of the guys met locally. He might be out your way. He moves around a lot. I'm not sure where he's at now, but he was running for Massachusetts. I can't even remember what he was running for. Maybe state senate or even senate. I can't even remember. But I interviewed him back then, and he's done a lot in the Libertarian Party. But I think he's kind of dissatisfied again. And
Mhm,
he's the best. Like he should be the guy really leading it. His name's Dan Fishman. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's a
I don't
great
think I've heard.
guy.
Hmm,
He's like a guy that like liberals are like, oh, I don't like what he's saying, but I like Dan. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
you can't help but like him. He's such a good guy, and he's
yeah,
smart, and he's nice. He's not trying to be like a nasty libertarian. You know what I mean? I
mhm.
like him.
No, no, that'd be
Solid.
great. Well, somebody just said Yannetti for DA, and Yannetti was asked,
He's
and he
not
said, "No,
running.
thank you." Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
they're
like,
not running. They're
I
not
get it.
running. They try to
Yeah,
get they always try to get Better to run. Who's the other one? They want Karen Reed to run.
that would be a good district attorney.
Yeah. I wonder if she can do it without being an attorney
Oh,
though.
I don't know.
I
I
have to look into that.
mean, you can do whatever you want, generally speaking. I think
Yeah,
it's
she's a
how you can look at it.
politician.
So, yeah,
It's more of a politician than an actual attorney
yeah.
anyways, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. But no, so getting back to the whole Karen Reed thing here, I did want to tell you because I know I came on your show and I was saying some things I know a lot of your audience did not like to hear as far as, the odds of things and how things were looking. And certainly at that point, I was not very confident in how things were starting to shake out for Karen. Um, you know what? I get to say you guys were right. I was wrong. I still thought until we got to the jury questions I thought hung jury was still going to be the number one outcome, but I will say by the end of the trial, Dr. La Posada and Dr. Rentschler made it like a tie between that and an acquittal or a lesser included conviction. Like those two had really brought it up at the end. But yeah, I'm happy to be wrong. I am happy to be wrong on this one. But I was just telling you guys, I know when you watch there's been so many people, especially the anti Karen side when a witness would go up, every time it was Hank demolished it or Hank killed it. You could ask these people, they sound like they're North Korean propagandists. Hank Brennan went out and played golf and scored 16 holes in one. You're like, is he
Definitely.
really going to score a hole in one every time or is he going to get a bogey once in a while? No, Hank Brennan did okay. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, the defense did okay today or they did good. There weren't that said, though, I know there were people on the Karen side of it. They're like, oh, that's a home run. And I'm like, I'll tell you guys when there's home runs. And when we got to the defense case, there were home runs. Like
Oh,
those were massive. And I will say the
they did
Welcher one
great.
was massive too.
Yes. Yep.
Um, but yeah, overall, I
And
thought it was
Burgess.
interesting to see how I will say overall the Karen side was very, very reserved. And they said, like, okay, well, things are looking good.
Mm.
Karen's not losing ground. She's catching up and she's closing the gap and being where she needs to be. But on the other side, I do, it's hilarious now just the reality has shattered.
Yeah.
And I know some of
Y-
those people on the other side, like the the comrade guy, whatever his name is, the towel
Baghdad
boy.
Bob.
No, the towel boy. I don't know who he
Oh
is.
yeah.
Yeah, Baghdad,
Grant.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever he
Whatever
is.
the towel. Whatever
Yeah,
the towel guy.
he got used like a towel at the strip club and toweled off and thrown to the
Who's
side.
used to that though?
Yeah, I was gonna say he must be, just
Like
all of them just not understand. A lot of them just not understanding. Like it's a trial. It's the same reason why we have the Super Bowl. We don't just give the guy who's the favorite the rings
Exactly.
and call it good.
Yeah, we
We
play the
have to play
game,
the game. Yeah, we play
and
the game,
yeah.
and
And
I just.
any prediction before the game is just a prediction. It's not,
Mhm,
and even during the game,
mhm,
like if you're in the first quarter and you're predicting who's going to
mhm.
win, it's like, come on, you,
Well, yeah, people were asking me that. Like, we're a couple days in, and they're like, "Well, how is this?" I'm like, "We're 5 minutes into the game, and you're asking me who's going to win. I don't know."
yeah,
And the worst part about a trial is though you don't really know because
nope.
you
You
don't
don't know
get to
what the
see the
jury's going to
scoreboard.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
you don't know
scoreboard
what
you
that
don't get to
jury's
see.
thinking. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing that for me, that was,
Mhm,
I think a lot of us on the Free Karen Reed
mhm,
side, I think the reason we were a little more level on it is because of
mhm,
what happened in the first trial.
mhm,
We all felt like she should have been acquitted there, and it didn't happen. So we're just a little bit like, oh man, this could be perfect for us. But at the same time, we don't know what type of tricks are being played behind the scenes. And this
mhm,
judge is so against us. And so there was a lot against us. And even though I felt every night, especially with Bettero on the show, and go reviewing the
mhm.
stuff that we were winning, especially like you said, when the defense came, it was like, we got Burgess win. We got the other
Mhm,
guy Welcher win. We
mhm.
got the bad, yeah, well, the two cops, the good cop
Yes.
and the bad cop wins.
Yes.
Like it just the two doctors, the two female doctors, Lapisato and then Marie Russell. It's just like
Yeah.
one thing after another. It was just win, win, win. We're winning. We are winning.
Mhm.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, that just this judge is against you. You're worried about
Mhm.
who's on that jury. You're worried about all these other things, and you're seeing all the little games that were being played throughout. And Hank's trying to bring in evidence. It's not evidence. There's fraud going
Mhm.
on,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
obviously helped. I mean, that big time helped. And then the verdict comes out, and I'm in shock. Like I'm still in shock. It's been over a week, and I'm still like,
Mhm.
we actually want. Like she really did get
Mhm.
acquitted, didn't she? Like, it's just like you
Yeah.
can't even believe it because I almost thought like we're gonna have another hung jury. I was just like
I really thought we
I
were.
was ready for it. I was ready for it. I was
Mhm.
like, we're gonna have another hung jury. There'll be
Mhm.
one person who that's what I felt like. There'll be one or two that will hang. But it was great. I love to see this what this jury's come back with. The
Oh, it's
interviews
amazed
with them.
me.
Yeah.
And I remember and this is the other thing where I have to eat my crow. I'll eat my crow in the form of chicken tendies. Thank you very much, chat. Uh, the idea that you're not going to be able to sell this idea of the murder. Like, I honestly, I didn't think you're going to be able to sell that to that jury. Now, there was the one lady who said, "I just don't think they met beyond a
Burn.
reasonable doubt." Okay, fine. But when juror number one goes on, Good Morning America and is like,
You gotta
"We
solve
need
it.
to go find the real killers," and I'm like, and obviously juror number 11, Paula Prado, is
Amazing.
all about that, and then I know one of the other jurors is all about that. I'm like, you know, that's 25% of the jury is on board with that, which means probably at least half the jury is on board with there are real killers roaming around out there that have not been caught. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought they would stick with and I think it was something that Hank accidentally set up through his, when he had Dr. Wolf, the old guy, come on and said, yeah, he could have fallen. And then when he got to Dr. Lapisato, I think it was, he's like, how do you know that could have been tree branches or bush branches?
You're right.
And I'm like, Hank, you're making my argument that he got drunk and started falling around everywhere and then finally
Okay.
died. Like,
You're
thank
right.
you.
Yeah, I mean, I know people got a little mad at
Yeah,
you when you said that, but it's
yeah,
plausible and it's definitely something the defense could have,
yeah.
it's
Well,
like it
they
they
kind of
could have,
did go that road of
yeah,
just
they
saying,
kind of
look,
do
you
that.
can't say what happened.
Exactly. That was the key to the whole defense, in my opinion,
Hmm.
is that they just, you can't prove that she hit him.
Yeah,
And so that's the end of the game. That's the end of the story there.
yeah.
It is
Let the
amazing.
jury make their own answers.
Yeah. For me, like you said, it's amazing to hear them talk about a lot of the same stuff that we were talking about on all our shows. And I could see it's
Hmm.
funny because I could see from the outside, these like some of these people you talked about, these loser trolls are going crazy because they're hearing these jurors say almost all the same stuff that we've been saying for the
Hmm.
longest time, and like
Yeah.
even about the holes in the sweatshirt, the fraud of Hank Brennan. They saw it. They saw all
Yeah.
the same stuff. And I get that these trolls are living in fantasy world and they start assuming that these jurors were all
Hmm.
following us. which was
Yeah.
hilarious. I saw them the day after. They're
Yes.
posting like because like Paula is all of a sudden like following the young
Yes.
Jurks and Turtle Boy and all them.
Yeah.
I've been talking to all these Jurors. They had no clue. They
Oh,
weren't watching any
have
of
you been
us.
able to talk to him?
I talked to Paula a little
Cool.
bit by tweet.
Okay.
She had no clue who I was. She wasn't following me.
Yeah.
Her last message to me, she called me Mark. Like if she and none of my people who have been watching me for months are calling me
Yeah.
Mark. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's come on. Like
Yeah. And
she has no clue. She has
yeah.
no clue on any of this stuff. So it's funny. Like it just shows you how
Mhm.
good this defense really was that
Well,
they broke through. And this jury
mhm,
too. I think this jury was on the mark. They really paid attention. I'm
mhm.
really impressed by their
Yeah.
interviews and why they decided the way they decided. It was excellent.
Yeah, no, I was like, "Oh my god, these jurors got it right." And
Yeah.
I it's funny because yeah, the people were screaming the whole time, they're a cult and it's all conspiracies. Immediately they're like, "This is impossible. Wait, there's plants on the jury." And it's like, "Wow. I guess you guys were the cult." All like, well, that's one of those hallmarks of people who are in a cult. They think everybody else is in a cult.
That's
And they
it.
think everything else is a conspiracy. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow,
They are in the
how that
cult.
happened.
It's so true. They are in the
Mhm.
cult. I mean, they really think that Paula Prado is following all of us, and
Yeah.
it's like, come on, are you?
Yeah.
And then you got Grant Smith Ellis. He's coming up with like geopolitical, like
Yeah,
it's
there's
Greece
missile
and Turkey and
technology.
Egypt,
Yeah.
and it's international spy ring,
Yes.
and there's
Yes.
what? What? I mean
Man.
and then he's got 100 plus people watching him. I know
Yeah.
probably half of them are free Karen Reed people laughing at him, but still,
Yeah.
he's got dozens of people who are believing this shit. That is cult like. That is cult like when you
Yes.
have tinfoil hat on times 20.
Yes.
It's unbelievable
Oh,
some of the stuff we're seeing.
they are using so much Copenhagen. They should buy stock in the Smokeless Tobacco Company. I mean, like Grant, and I one if somebody here said they love my nickname for Grant. Well, do you like the Comrade guy? Because I call him or I call him Grant Shit Smell Us. I don't know. These people deserve they deserve to be ridiculed. They deserve to be buck
Does.
broken for what they've
Oh,
done.
please. Yeah, I
And
don't think people know. I have so much experience with the Grant Smith Ellis guy
yeah,
because I got to say, he started in all this by as a
yeah.
caller into my show back in the
Oh,
day, and he's done a lot of terrible things to people that I know and care about,
mhm,
like really just stuff that you just can't even believe. And we all laugh at him. I laugh at
mhm.
him, but he's also, I would say, be careful. He's devious and dangerous, is what I say,
Well,
as well as insane.
I mean,
So I know we can
well,
laugh at them, but I
Deacon
like to
Mosey's.
warn people.
And I guess I'm and this is where I get to I guess I can laugh a little harder and haughtier because, we do things a little differently in Ohio,
New
as far
York.
as things are concerned. But also because Grant Smith Ellis, Kate Peter, and I've learned this from really the past year of watching the Twitter, Cottage Tales, all these other people that are like this was like a social media war,
Yeah.
but there was a bit of a shadow war in the sense of, like, people are doxing each other.
Oh
The,
yeah.
uh the one lady who's got her profile picture's the Botox face, the llama lady.
Oh, Llama. Yeah, Carrie
Yeah.
Llama
Yeah, so she, like, it looks like it's
and
like a
Kimberly
snare drum.
Fair.
Tight as a
Yeah.
snare drum. Um,
Yeah.
but she, somebody, like, had thrown up a picture mocking her at one point where somebody had, like she's driving by in a car and she's like, "Oh my god." It's like, there's, like, this IRL war that was
Oh
kind
yeah.
of brewing of
Well, I think
doxing
that
and
picture in the
like,
car
yeah,
was
yeah.
because she showed up at a Free Karen Reed standout to surveil
Oh,
it. So, they've done a lot of provocative stuff.
mhm.
And I think with me, following me, I don't do
Yeah,
that shit. I don't dox people. I don't.
yeah,
I don't. I don't go out. The worst thing I do is like you do. Grant I'll warn people that he's dangerous, and then I just
yeah,
laugh at him. I make jokes about it because it's
mhm,
fun. It's like I enjoy it.
yeah,
And like you, nothing he can do or any of these people can do to
huh,
will bother me at all. But I'll just
yeah,
give you as someone who doesn't kind of participate
mhm,
in that stuff, it's happened to me.
mhm,
They looked up and I was just kind of perplexed, like
mhm,
why and how would they even get this? But I didn't even know when my parents got divorced. My parents got divorced when I was a youngster.
Yeah,
Um, they looked up and posted my parents' 1972 divorce,
yeah.
and
And
they
they're
were
like, "Oh,"
posting it
you're
at
like,
me like, "You
"Oh
have
no."
daddy issues. Your daddy wasn't around. Your dad," and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I love my dad. My dad loves
Yeah,
me, and I also had a great relationship with my stepdad too.
yeah,
And I also had great coaches and a great uncle. I had a lot of males in my life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Your response should have been,
Maybe my
"No,
mom is the one that I've had the
yeah."
most issues with, not my
Well,
dad's.
that's what I was gonna say. You should have said, "Joke's on you. I only cry at the strip club.
Yeah,
I don't."
exactly.
But no, yeah, but it's just this. And I know it's mainly on their side of it, but they are so hell bent on wanting to dox these people. When
Oh,
Paula first started talking, where does that house? Where does she live? What's her
yeah,
name? And they
yeah.
want all of this, and it's this,
And then
you
they
know,
dox your family, which is
yeah,
that's the sickest part to me. Like,
yeah,
you come after me, I don't care. Show up at my house, see what happens. You'll
hmm
get some. I'm a wrestler, and I
yeah.
love for anyone to show up to the house because
Make sure you wear a GoPro while you're doing it.
oh, I would have the cameras,
Put the
and then
GoPro
you
on
get
your
to
head.
see me. You get to
God
see
damn it.
how me do my wrestling moves
Yeah,
on camera. It'd be unbelievable. Like, is that John Cena? But
yeah. Hit him with the Jap Wizard. There you go.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I'd
Ah,
probably just do the double leg, lift him
just a
up in
nice
the
double leg.
air.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, just
and just
something.
sweep it.
Yeah, just take out the legs, easy.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Jab
that
whiz,
would.
jab whiz. I might throw out my shoulder.
Well, I was gonna say I'm not physically able enough to do those anymore. But yeah,
I
I
know,
remember all those from
that
high school.
it's the shoulder, it's the shoulder
Yeah,
that's pinned, right? Do you
yeah,
get those? Like, oh,
yeah. Well, no, I don't. But I'm a little younger, so
oh, there you go.
um. But no,
But anyway, I mean, it's just crazy. These
it
people are
is.
truly insane. Some of them, they have no
Mm-hmm.
life. Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny 'cause the thing that drives me crazy about this lately too is that they've charged Turtle Boy with all these witness intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
They act like everybody on the Free Karen Reed side is intimidating. Hank Brennan comes out with a statement and
Mm-hmm.
basically doesn't admit that he presented fraudulent information to the jury. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't confront any of what the jury said, and he just basically comes out and says, "Yeah, she's still guilty. It's this online harassment campaign. It's he's basically blaming it on Free Karen Reed
Mm-hmm.
and pretending that it's just one side that's doing it. And in reality, it's the other side to me that's much worse because they are protected and incentivized, I believe, by Hank Brennan and Michael Morrissey. And there's an affidavit
Mm-hmm.
about it, about Kate Peter, about getting the
Mm-hmm.
money, about getting the free couch, all that stuff. And we know that they're protected. Kate Peter is the head, as far as I can
Yes.
consider her, of anti Karen Reed. She's the one who talks to the state police. She's the one who talks to the DA. I know it for a fact, multiple sources on this. And they act like it's us. And she's sitting there doxing, harassing, threatening, calling him an Uncle Tom, all this crap, all these people do,
Mm-hmm.
this crew of people on the actual jurors after the trial's over. And it's witness intimidation. We all know it.
Mm-hmm.
And the DA and Hank Brennan say nothing about it. They act like we're the ones doing it, Free Karen Reed, when they're people who have their protection and probably funding, as far as we're seeing in that affidavit. They protect them. Don't say anything about them. Don't act like they don't exist. And it's crazy that they sit there and talk about witness intimidation. And this is the problem with the witness intimidation law here is that they're weaponizing it to use it against
Mm-hmm.
their political opponents. And they're not using it when it's someone that's in their favor. And because of that, the Kate Peters of the world and all these other people know that. So they ramp it up to 1,000 because they know no one's going to do anything about it. So that's why they're doxing Paula's family. That's why they're
Mm-hmm.
harassing all these jurors because they know
Mm-hmm.
nothing's going to happen. Hank Brennan's not going to say anything about it.
No.
Michael Morrissey's not going to charge them. The
Nope.
Mass State Police ain't going to look at it because that's their sources. That's their
Yeah.
confidential informant right there, Kate Peter. And that's what they hired her to do. So it's legal to do witness intimidation and juror
Mm-hmm.
intimidation if you're doing it in favor of Michael Morrissey and the Norfolk County DA.
Yeah.
And that story hasn't been reported in the Boston media. It's frustrating me. We're the only ones doing it, the YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's only going to go from here because now the focus is on Turtle Boy, and that's the main. at least from what I can tell, the majority of the anti-Karen Reed are people who just basically are fuck Turtle Boy, and
Exactly.
because Turtle Boy supports Karen Reed, fuck Karen Reed. And
That's it.
now that they're ready to go, they can now laser beam in on Turtle Boy. He defeated the protection order case of that one chick, the Lindsay Gattani chick.
Yep.
Like he already won that, he won that dub, and now he's, you know, getting ready for his trial next. I think it's probably going to be not probably till next year. I think is that what he said? Turtle Boy said probably.
I'm not sure if they really
It's going a
know.
long ways away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's it's only going to get worse now because I think for a lot of them, and this is where, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. I think they think that because for a lot of the bigger media coverage out there, oh well, Karen Reed's done. Everybody's going to pack up and go home. All the tourists are going to leave, and now Turtle Boy's left on his own, and they're going to just try to focus in on Turtle Boy and sink him in the meantime.
Totally. And I know about
Mhm,
all those people that hate Turtle Boy, and
mhm,
it's so true because the first night I had Turtle Boy on, a lot of those people for years had loved me. And as soon as I had him on,
mhm,
I was the enemy. I am the Mike Crawford. It's funny because they'll talk about like, oh, Black Lives Matter or the liberal this, the liberal that, but they actually don't care about that. It's just that
mhm,
Turtle Boy made fun of them at one point and they couldn't get over it. So they spent their whole life attacking him. And that's what most of these people are, not all of them, but a good number of them. And it's kind of gross. It really is. And it's they'll continue, but so
mhm,
will we. I mean, there's
mhm,
the national media can go away. There's going to be so many of
mhm.
us YouTubers still covering this.
Yeah, well, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
Turtle Boy deserves all the
Yeah.
attention he can get for this because,
And
you know,
yeah,
I may disagree with like everything he did is constitutionally protected, but I think he set himself up for he f- he knows they're all corrupt, and he does. I think he was good until he showed the phone
mm,
on his streams, like the phone
yeah, I
number he's
shouldn't have done
calling.
that. I agree.
And
Shouldn't have
I
done that.
think that's, while it's constitutionally protected and I don't have a problem with it, when you're trying to show a jury, "Hey, look, I'm Mr. Nice Guy. I'm just being, hard-hitting journalism," it gives the government he kinda gave them some
Giving them a little
ammunition to
leeway to
use.
get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
So,
sometimes you need to be a little more strategic and just
yeah.
a little chiller and safer. Like
But I
and I
also
think
get though.
I think he also gets that now too. I
Yeah.
think that he's doing that now.
Mhm.
And I also think that
Mhm.
we need a guy like him. Like I was talking to the guys, JFK and James Jackson. I hung out with
Mhm.
them one night, and they were commenting like,
Mhm.
we got in trouble in the past, like with court, like shit that we actually did wrong,
Mhm.
like, and we always have to be like perfect. We can't ever and that's why we love Turtle Boy because he just don't give a f. He'll go where we won't go. And I'm looking at those
Yeah.
guys and I'm like, I agree with you. Like I don't want to go to jail. Like I'm not, and I know Turtle Boy doesn't want to, but this was everything for him, this case. And he did take chances that he probably wouldn't do on other, in other situations. But the
Yeah,
big
but
thing on this, beyond the fact that I
Mhm.
like him, I like the guy. I do like the
Yeah, I do
guy.
too.
And I respect his journalism and I want to see him continue to do the great journalism he does in the
Mhm.
state on the people in power. That's what I like when he goes after
Mhm.
the people in power. I just freaking love it.
Yeah.
I don't always like all his other stuff, his politics and some,
Yeah. But he's
whatever.
gone after the
But
MSP
yeah,
before. He's done a lot of things.
wicked. I mean, the Troopergate was one of the biggest stories ever about the payroll fraud, and it went
Mhm.
everywhere. It went into Boston. When it went national, basically. All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, we got to look into payroll fraud." Like everyone started looking into it, and they found
Mhm.
out that it was going on everywhere. So, like, he's been amazing. There's been so many stories like that. Number one, back the blue guy broke the most police corruption in the state, and why? Because cops trusted him. Cops were watching his stuff and saying, "Hey, I can't speak up at work because." Thin blue line, maybe I'll just
Mhm.
give Turtle Boy a call and give him a
Mhm.
leak and he can out this corruption for us. That happened a lot. And so
Mm.
I really we need it. I appreciate it. But not only that, even if you don't like Turtle Boy, you got to consider everybody who's on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are, if you post on social media anywhere, they can come after you. If you post something that they don't like and they
Mhm.
can consider it witness intimidation, they can do the same shit to you. And if they get
Mhm.
away with it with Turtle Boy right now, they're coming after me. They're going to come after other people next. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make an example of him, trying to
Mhm.
scare people away, and they're trying to push it back on what's been happening, the push for transparency,
Mhm.
the push to expose the corruption. They're going to start targeting more people, and
Mhm.
so that's why we need to back this up. We need to win this to make sure that we protect
Mhm.
First Amendment, the right to do journalism, the
Mhm.
right to have a YouTube show and talk about these things without
Yeah.
having the Gestapo knocking on your door and threatening you. And it happened to me. Like they didn't actually knock on my door, but K. Peter was threatening. K. Peter was specifically saying, "You need to go talk to Tully. If you don't, you're going to jail next." That was the implication,
Mhm.
and threatening me, saying I was doing things that I didn't do, saying that I did criminal things. I didn't do them. I knew that. I actually signed an affidavit about some of this shit related to what Lindsay said about it. Um, and this is what they do. They have someone who I consider to be a criminal. She's up on witness intimidation charges herself right now. So she at one point before that, she was claiming I was doing it. I had to go talk to the state police, obviously implying that I should go pretend and lie about Aiden to get out of whatever fake jam they were trying to pretend that they were going to push on me. So this is what's going on. They're incentivizing these little snitches, these little criminals to go after their opponents on social media, and they have this huge campaign. We saw it, and it continues. And this is why we need to defend Aiden. I am all about Aiden. We got to win every charge, dismiss
Mhm.
him, and
Oh, I
support
think
him.
so.
Fund that. Yeah,
I want him to win all of it, and
me too.
we're just now to the point of, and I think people think this is, this is, oh, this is it. The blow has been struck against the government. No, it's just now been exposed. The government is
Huge.
now dangerous because now it's been wounded. It's been harmed, but it has not been knocked down a peg. I mean, all
Nope.
that happened, like the only casualty out of this so far has been Proctor.
Yeah, Michael Proctor.
Everybody
And
else,
Buchanan
everybody,
lost 3 or 4 days of.
yeah.
Yeah,
Trooper Bukaki lost a little bit of hurt pride, and he went up there and he had to take his lumps in front of everybody. Like that's part of his penance, and that's it. Like those are the only two people that suffered so far. So I this is far from over. This is far from over, and this is I just people understand. This is the long road, especially when you're
yeah.
dealing with a
Systemic.
systemic issue like this. You are gonna have to keep working. It's not a
Mm,
it's a multi-season show.
exactly.
This is like season 2. And there's, to get all the way to the end, it's gonna be 5, 6 seasons of this.
That's
It's
right.
not at all gonna be, and that's
Yeah,
just
we get yeah,
wherever it is you live, not just
yeah.
Massachusetts.
That's it. It takes a long time to get change, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
Even when it's fast, it's slow.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we have Turtle Boy, we got Sandra Birchmore,
Mhm.
um, and we got what's going on with DA Morrissey too. Like, there's going to be an election in 2026,
Mhm.
so it's going to be interesting to see if he runs again. I hope he does. I hope he does. There's a good chance he doesn't run for reelection, but I think he is crazy enough to run. There's some indication he might actually run. That's what I
Mhm.
heard from one of the leading candidates this week, and I'm looking forward to it because I think we're gonna have so much fun. Microdots is already plotting campaign videos that he's gonna come up with, some hit pieces. We will have so much fun with Michael Morrissey if he runs in 2026, and I hope everyone joins us.
Mhm.
Get your memes going, like start planning, like because this is
Mhm.
gonna be fun. And if he does campaign events, we're coming out. We'll be there.
Yes. And this actually kinda goes into, I think some you might be able to explain this because I know you're kinda one of the people on the ground there. Since this has happened, are there more people who are now like everybody's kind of coming out as Karen Reed? Because I'm assuming there were probably a
Yeah.
lot of people who kept things quiet. They're
Oh
like, I
yeah,
don't want to start a fight or don't want to cause problems.
definitely. Yeah,
And
definitely.
okay.
I mean, and especially you can kind of see people who were kind of supportive but weren't too public. All of a sudden,
Hmm.
they're like posting their pictures and making their posts. Definitely, it's been a lot of that, which is good to see. Like more people are feeling comfortable sharing their experiences and what they're seeing. So yeah, there's been some of that definitely, especially from the like just the general public, people I grew up with.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely
That's
see that
good.
a lot now.
That's good. I mean, some of those people might be fair weather, but I assume a lot of them are truly honest. They wanna be, they didn't feel comfortable saying it, and I hope, even in a place like Canton where the Alberts and the McCabe's run around, I'm hoping there's more and more people who are willing to realize and look at them and say, "Wow, you guys are just pieces of shit."
Well, that's the
Not
thing. The
Yeah.
media pretends like the town is evenly split.
Mhm.
It's not. It's not. 80% pro Karen Reed,
Good.
20% are friends of the McAlberts. You know what I mean? So like,
Mhm.
and what you have a lot of is, I hear these stories all the time. I'm not gonna name any names, but like, you have like, let's say the mother is pro Karen Reed. She's out there holding a sign.
Mhm.
The adult children are now upset because half their friends are the McAlberts and they
Mm.
don't want to hang out with them anymore. And so that sometimes like the kid will stop talking to the mom because
Really?
mom's
It's getting that
mom's
bad?
holding the sign has
Oh.
alienated them from their lifelong friends that they grew up with. This is happening
Mm.
a lot. So this is why the McAlberts do have 20% because they grew you when you grow up with people
Mhm.
and you're friends with them, you'll often see the bad side of them, but you kind of ignore it because you got this history with them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot of that that goes on. We all do that in our lives. You
Yeah,
don't
but
love all your friends, but you
yeah.
just, you remember like, oh, remember that night we had that great, or
Yeah.
we won that football game, or we raised
Yeah.
all that money for Jenny when she had cancer, or we had a great night at that
Mhm.
whatever it is, you just kind of overlook. And there's a lot of that's going on in town.
I could
So
see
yeah.
that, but I think at some point, no matter who I'm bros with, though, it's like people think you committed a murder.
But what
It
about the issue is that these
Yeah.
okay, let's
Yeah.
say that you think of this group of people did something horrible
Yeah.
like we're talking about. What about their kids? What about
Mhm.
their 9, 10, 15 cousins?
Yeah.
That's where it gets into where people are like, I don't want to support this because I'm going to lose all those other people that I
Mhm.
like, the kids and the cousins and that's a lot of what's going on is that the families are being split because they've made a stand. And a lot I've heard from so many people like that my daughter or my son or
Mm.
my mother, they won't talk to me anymore because or my brother, we won't communicate anymore because they're still friends with those McAlberts and it's made our family very uncomfortable and it's split the family. It happens a lot in Canton.
That's I was actually gonna ask you that question here, and I was thinking, I'm like, I hope you're gonna tell me, "Ah, no, it's all good," but damn, that's sad to see. That's sad to see that it's
Mm,
destroying people
It's
like that.
it is. It's horrible. And that's why when the boots on the ground, and especially
Mhm.
the folks from Canton speak and say, like, "I don't think you all understand." And there's a lot that they don't say, and
Mhm.
sometimes they can't say it, and they'll tell me behind the scenes privately what's really going on, and it's heartbreaking, and as much as I've given up in terms of time and energy and concern and being worried these people are gonna all that shit, it's not like that. It's not like the kitten. The people that live in that town,
Yeah.
and then a lot of them are scared. A lot of them are scared that something's gonna happen and police aren't gonna be there for them. And they're also scared that there's gonna be retribution because that's the way this town works.
Oh, well,
And
Lucky said that.
mm,
Lucky when he was talking about what happened, he's like, "Well, I give them some courtesy." I mean, really, the answer is, I don't want the cops smacking my tail light when they stop me for a speeding ticket.
right.
That's what he's talking about, and,
Yeah.
um,
Bilaki's a perfect example. He used to
yeah.
work at D&E. He knows all these
Mhm.
people,
Yeah.
He's caught between two groups of people.
Mhm.
It's a tough spot to be in.
And I will say, when you look at especially the Alberts sitting there on the 2020 thing, they look like a couple of thugs.
They do. Yeah,
I'm not
we
gonna say
reviewed that last night.
Matt
Oh,
McCabe definitely is not on my list of people I'd ever be scared of,
yeah,
but,
he's the least
Brian
yeah.
Albert and Chris Albert, yeah, I'd
Yep.
be worried about them. I
Especially
can see
Brian.
that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
Um,
they're I would that's why for me, I've been to Canton just a few times in the
mhm,
last couple of years, and I always have my head on a swivel. It's not
mhm,
something I take lightly. I don't drink there. I don't really drink at all, but
Yeah.
that is a place I would never drink at. Like, you know me,
Mhm.
I've mentioned cannabis several times.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't even though cannabis is legal, I don't even bring if I'm driving to Canton, cannabis stays home. Like I don't
Yeah.
even bring one. I
If you're
bring
going to
nothing.
Canton, you're completely clean. Yeah.
Seriously. And it's legal now. Like I just don't I'm like extra careful. I'm extra careful.
No, I just and it's some people are saying, "Well, how do they get this kind of power?" Well, it's not that they have so much power, it's just they're in a position.
Mm,
And when you happen to be on the select board, like when you're a city councilman, you have a lot of power. And
yeah,
then
I do.
when, everybody knows your name and your family's been around forever and,
Your
one
brother's
of
a
you is a
police officer. Yeah,
Boston
2
police
of them.
officer. Yeah, and then one of you is a detective on the local police department. I mean, that's all it takes. I mean, your dad could be the guy who runs the street sweeper trucks. You can end up with a lot of power that way. It doesn't take much for people to accumulate power, and then when you don't have any, a little bit of power can be intimidating to people. And
Absolutely.
especially if you think these guys either intentionally murdered somebody or it was an accident and they covered it up. It's hard for the average person to say, I want to fuck around with that guy
No, you
or
don't,
those
and
guys.
especially knowing small towns
Hmm.
too. Like
Yeah.
people have to think about this
Hmm.
how
Yeah.
small towns are.
Yeah.
I kind of I've lived in both large towns and small
Hmm.
towns. My family, for most of my early years, after like age 5, I
Hmm.
was in this small town, and
Yeah.
I was friends with the kid that basically was related to everyone in town.
Hmm.
So, like, he knew everybody just from who he was, his last name from, like,
Hmm.
the age of 5, you know what I mean? So, like
Yeah.
and he's not like a rich kid. He's not
Hmm.
special. It just that's the way certain towns
Hmm.
are, and in Canton, it's definitely like that, and there's certain like, think about, Tommy Kelleher, who I did go to Bridgewater State College with, I know him a little bit. Tommy was living
Hmm.
across the street, he's the assistant police chief. His
Hmm.
father was a police officer in town. His grandfather was the police chief. So Tom Kelleher is third generation police officer.
Hmm.
Think about how many police officers he knew even before he was a police officer, just
Yeah.
from his father and his grandfather
Hmm.
and all the people he grew up with. And the Alberts know all those people. Like the Alberts are
Yeah.
a very similar type of family where they know everybody. And when
Hmm.
you know everyone, you kind of get special treatment a little bit. You just do. If you're
Hmm.
that's what it's like
Yeah.
the townie advantage, when like I'm in a different town now than I grew up in. So I don't know anyone. Some of them know me from maybe what I do
Hmm.
here. So
Yeah.
maybe I get a little bit of privilege because of that, but mostly they don't know me. They don't know my family. But if I go back to the town I grew up in, I could get special favors there just because I grew up with a lot of the guys, like you said, that run the DPAW. They're the cops, they're the firefighters, they're
Hmm.
select board members. Like we know each other because we played little league together.
Yeah.
And our brothers and
Yeah.
sisters played
It's
together. So
well, yeah. Well, it's like
that's the type
yeah.
of power the McAlberts have.
Yeah, and I was gonna say you play Little League together. It's like Justified. We dug coal together. Like just having that little bit with somebody goes a long way. And
Yeah.
yeah, I grew up in a really small town,
Hmm.
and my family we had no relation to anybody. So when someone in town died, like half the town would be going to the funeral because it's like half the family in town
Exactly.
was related to the guy.
That's
And we
it.
weren't. None of us were related to anybody. So we were, my parents were very good at what they did and, had worked themselves into the town fabric and everything, and it worked out very well for overall. But it was still, even then at that point, like you knew you weren't part of that.
That's
Um,
how I grew up too in a way, because it's
mhm,
funny because my
yeah,
parents were new to the town.
mhm,
And I swear to God, my parents got to know a lot of the other townspeople through their kids. And
mhm,
like I said, because I had that relationship with the next door neighbor kid who I was really good friends with, who was related to everybody.
mhm,
They used to think my brother and I were part of that family because we were all blonde and we all looked alike. So
mhm,
like, are you a Pearson? That's a name. Pearson. Are you a Pearson? You're like, no, I'm not a Pearson. I'm friends with all the Pearsons. Oh, okay. You're cool. So, but your grandparents weren't born in this town, so you're not a real townie. That's
Yeah.
how it was. Like,
Yeah, but
so
by the
but we
time
were
I
friends with
graduate
the
high
townies.
school,
We
I was
we
a
we yeah.
townie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they all knew. It's funny in my town is so strict. Like they knew after a while, they knew that my brother and I weren't real townies, but we were close to all the townies. So it's like you're close. Like it's almost like a gang. You know how like you have the Hell's
Mhm.
Angels,
Yeah.
and there's the guys who are the official members, and then there's the kind of allies who aren't in the club. It's kind of like how we were. Like so, you get your little advantages from how close you are to people. It's just
Mhm.
that's how small towns are.
Yeah, and that's and the Alberts in this case, they were able to maximize all of that when, you know, when you got those chips, they held on to those chips till they needed to cash them in, and they cash them in not on, oh, their son, getting drunk one night and finding Colin getting a DUI and cashing in the chips that way. No, they cashed in their chips when someone died. Um, that was what they did. I'm sure that they burned, the favors they had to get that sorted out. So,
Yeah, and I'm sure they've done a lot of favors too, people do
mhm,
favors. It's especially when you're
yeah.
law enforcement.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's so because I know some people had asked me to ask about, like, what's going to happen in Canton, and I think Canton's probably going to be one of the things where that's not probably going to change a whole lot. We'd
Well,
like to think so, but I guess
I'm
we'll see.
actually hopeful on it
Hmm.
because elections, like if you look at the last two elections, they've
Hmm.
challengers have replaced incumbents. So you have two newcomers who have won seats, two women, and
Okay.
I think that's very positive. And they're not, people. I mean, when you replace a 30-year incumbent named John Conley, who is like the most towny town guy of all, and he
Hmm.
loses 2-1
Hmm.
to a professional veterinarian, like a first-time candidate. I thought it would be a close race. She defeated him 2-1. Like she
Hmm.
destroyed him. So I'm hopeful because I think that people are very active there. Like you said, though, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. But now they're the police chief, who I felt was very problematic. She was awful. She attacked the townspeople verbally
Hmm.
at town
Yeah,
meeting for
and
protesting.
and when they had the audit or whatever they tried to call,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's not we watched her. She's been one of the worst police chiefs around. So she's out. They got a new interim police chief coming in. I looked him up. He's got experience, a lot of experience in another town, Middleborough. He's a Middleborough police chief. So he's from the outside, which is positive. And his last gig was for 4 months. He quit it. He was at a Rhode Island airport, head of security, and apparently this Rhode Island airport uh secure corporation that was running the
Sure.
airport was doing a lot of crazy stupid stuff, and they weren't listening to him. So he basically resigned and blew the whistle and said, these are the issues. They don't want us to do this, they're doing this, they're doing that. Like, so he basically blew the whistle, which I think is exactly what they need. If Canton's not going to get the shit together, this guy is not afraid to tell the town what's wrong with it. So I'm hopeful, and they're
I
naming him
hope so.
interim. So I think it's like, let's see how he does. They're looking for a permanent. They're looking for someone on the outside. Maybe it's this guy because I feel like he could be the guy. But I like how they're kind of saying, you know what, we got an interim, we got someone for now from the outside, and we're going to
Hmm.
do a permanent search. Maybe it'll be him. I don't know. But, I like, so far, I like what I see. I think that, and I think it's because the citizens have kept showing up. Like they did the audit, they kept showing up.
Hmm.
The implementation was a fight. The audit still kind of got screwed up. They're still showing up. They're still there. And they're still like that Susan Harrington win, beating
Hmm.
John Connolly 2-1. They all showed up. Like record votes are coming out. So I feel like it's slow but sure. Like you said, it's not going to change the culture of the towny stuff may not
Hmm.
change, but
Yeah.
maybe the government will be more transparent, more listening to everybody, treating people
Hmm.
fairly. I think that police chief has that intent, and I hope he's able to make some change. And I think a lot of the
Hmm.
police officers too, on the force, are younger guys, and they don't want this shit. They don't want to be hated by their town, and I think
Yeah.
that they're going to be open to change too and doing the right thing because they
Hmm.
know. I think hopefully some of these police officers realize they need to get the town confident and trusting in them again, and
Yes.
this is how they do it. So hopefully they
I
all
hope
kind
so.
of get their shit together.
Yeah, no, I really do hope so because, and like you said though, now is the time where you can actually push because now this has come through. But yeah, I can only imagine like if I met like if I'm, let's say I go to, Florida to go see my parents and I run into, my one of my parents' neighbors, their son comes over and he's like my age, like, what do you do? Oh, I work for the Canton, Massachusetts Police Department. I'm like, oh, you must be a tard as well. Like, did you think the solo cups were a good idea?
Oh, can you imagine how
Because
many of them probably have their resumes out looking at other
yeah,
towns?
no, and that, like I said, that's the thing. Like, you're like, oh, like,
Demoralizing.
yeah, or oh, I work for the Norfolk County DA's office. I'm
Oh,
like, I'd
oh,
be
I've
like,
heard from some of
really?
them. They are a lot of them have left, and I heard from one, and they were like, morale used to be phenomenal over here.
Hmm.
Everyone liked to be work here, and then all this shit happened, and it just you could feel it. You could just every day nobody wanted to be here anymore. So
Hmm.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just, yeah, I mean, it's just when you see these organizations sitting down, or like if I went to like a CLE or a convention or something, and like Bev starts talking as a keynote speaker, what the fuck? I have nothing. I don't care what she was going to talk about unless she's going to talk about how to install a margarita fridge in her chambers. I don't care for what she's going to have to tell me.
yeah.
I won't want
No
to hear what
kid.
she has to say. And I don't know if you saw that TikTok where those people found her flying to New Orleans.
No, I didn't.
They ran into her
Yeah,
at the airport. They're like, "Are you
they,
are you the Karen Reed judge?" She's like, "Oh no, that's my sister." And it's like,
she lied.
yeah,
Poor Bev.
yeah.
Not. Oh, she
I
did
mean,
it
and
to herself.
I don't
She
condone
really did.
people. I don't
Yeah,
condone
I don't
people
think anyone
finding
should
it like
harass
that.
anybody.
But
There
I
was
do
some guy who
think,
posted a picture of somebody that looked like
yeah,
Bev, and I was like,
yeah,
"That's a double infraction." Because number
yeah,
one, you should just leave the lady alone. Number one, and number
yeah,
two, it wasn't even her. Like, come on.
yeah. And I think, but for people like that though, at some point, like Bev was such, and I know, and the thing was, you didn't need an attorney to tell you this was an awful job by this judge, and
Yeah,
she was so headstrong and so full of herself that she was doing the right things and she wouldn't change her mind. And I just, people like that need to be told, like, somebody needs to grab her and pull her aside and be like, honey,
that's not how
you
you
didn't
do it.
do this right. Like, Karen Reed got acquitted in spite of you, not because of you.
Exactly.
Like, the way she did this was just absolutely garbage. And she'll never get, well, nobody's ever, the appeals courts have never overturned me. I'm like, that doesn't mean a whole lot because nobody gets overturned.
Yeah, nobody does. It's
Yeah,
so
like,
funny. I gotta say, but I'm gonna. I kind of kept this close to the vest. I
okay,
hope I'm not gonna get in trouble. Whatever. My girlfriend's father used to be a judge.
okay,
And so she's got a bias. Her father
hmm,
was apparently a great guy. Well, he's no
hmm,
longer here. But so obviously she's got a bias for judges, right? So
hmm,
during trial one, a lot of times she's watching her show and she's after the show, she'd be like, I wish you and Bettero and Mazda would be nicer to that judge. She's doing the best she can.
yeah,
I'd hear it so often. Somewhere along the line,
yes,
my girlfriend, who has a bias for judges, be nice to judges, respect the judges. She says, "What's up with that judge?" Like even people that want to
hmm,
really support judges are like, "This isn't normal." Like
hmm,
we were saying that and telling her, and then she just started watching herself. She just started watching the trial, no
hmm,
commentary, and that's when my girlfriend was like, "Something's not right with this
oh,
judge." So to see
hmm,
someone that is so biased towards the judge even say it.
hmm. Well, and it was funny because at the beginning of May, I actually had a trial I was in. I had a jury trial. And while we were sitting there, we were waiting for some jury instructions to get typed out because we had agreed to everything, and we were just waiting on some things. And I actually was listening to Karen Reed trial for a second while I was sitting there in chambers, and I had it up a little enough, loud enough, just so I could listen to it. And the judge like walking and walking, and he's like, "Oh, are you listening to Karen Reed?" And I said, "Oh," I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Yeah, my daughter's been watching the whole thing, and she sent me some clips to watch." And he says, "I just don't understand this judge."
The
And he
judges are
said,
saying it.
Yeah, and he said, I've he's like, I've been a lawyer almost 40 years. He's like, I don't understand what she's doing. And and I said, Your Honor, I have no idea. And I've watched the first trial and now this one, I still don't know what she's doing.
Right.
So it's
Even judges agree. I mean, a
yeah.
judge is going to have a favoritism, a
Hmm.
bias for other
Yeah.
judges. Just like police
No.
officers favor other police officers, we all like other
Hmm.
people that are like us.
Yeah, no. No Bluetooth, you bum. It's like, well, I was just like, it was use Bluetooth on wear Bluetooth, you look like a douchebag depending on how you
You
do it.
do Bluetooth? Do you use Bluetooth on here?
No. No, but
Yeah.
I was like, if I had like one of the AirPods, maybe, but I thought he meant Bluetooth, like the old thing, the
Oh,
thing
the
people
air
used to
thing?
wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
I
like
looked into that. I'm afraid of the brain cancer thing.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise
Like,
me
we
if that
already
turned
have
out
enough
true. Yeah.
radiation from the computers and the
Yeah, and the
phones and
4G and the 5G, yeah, and
yeah.
the
Like, I
Wi-Fi.
don't
Yeah, no,
really
I
need
agree.
to add something to my brain. It's like, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
I
Well,
I
yeah,
have the
there's
wireless
the Judge
headphones. I
Lou
don't use
guy.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. That's the bias you don't want. That guy
Hmm.
is. Can we talk about him? He's insane.
Sure.
He
Sure.
thinks he's going to
I can
throw us
talk
all in
shit about
jail.
any This isn't in Ohio, so I can talk shit about all these judges. I'll
Oh,
say whatever I want.
yeah. I mean, have you ever seen a former retired judge like this? I thought they weren't supposed
No.
to speak at all, and then
Well,
not only is
they
he
can give
speaking, it's
commentary.
crazy. Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with them giving commentary because like there's Judge Erskine. She was going around
it's true.
kind of
She's
like
good.
counterweighting it. So I have no problem with the judges commenting. But yeah, he and it just makes you realize like that guy presided over trials.
Mm,
People, and think about it for Bev. People are like, "Oh, well, Bev did really good in this one bench trial," and I'm like, "Okay, but would you feel comfortable now going in front of Bev for a speeding ticket?" And the answer is like no, and I'm like, well, there you go. That she should not be handling things like that anymore.
you
And
know, it's funny because I want to ask you this, even though you're supposed to be asking me the questions.
yeah,
Going
no,
back
no,
to you, but uh, y- we had Tim Bradle on, Turtle Boy's
yeah,
attorney.
hmm
He's a former prosecutor, defense
hmm
attorney now. He mentioned, and I've heard this from other attorneys too, that he thinks Bev was awful in the trial, but he's had other trials or interactions where she's been good, and that usually she is good,
hmm
and that this was unusual. What she did in this trial wasn't
hmm
like the typical Beverly Canoni.
hmm
If that's true, why do you think it's like that? Why do you think she's acting different in this trial, in these two trials apparently, than what she normally does?
I think I think for her, if I had to guess, if you had to sit her down and she would be willing to talk to a psychiatrist or a therapist about it, I think when everybody's looking at you and you start fucking it up, there is the tendency just to keep going. And no, I meant to do this. I'm going to keep going down this path.
Yeah,
And if she starts reversing, it looks bad. And then it looks like she's in the bag for the defendant. And it's like, but now you look like you're in the bag for the prosecutor. And
right.
I'd like to think that's the case, or maybe she just thought Karen was guilty and her bias showed.
Yep.
I really want to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think she just was kind of like she kind of felt like she was trying to navigate her way through it once she started screwing up.
Yeah.
And I
I
don't
think
know. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna marry what Tim Bradle said and what you said
Hmm.
together because I think that Tim Bradle seemed to think that she didn't like out of town Jackson. She didn't like the
Hmm.
defense team, and that's why she acted that way. And I'm gonna add to it, like maybe she felt like that defense team Jackson showed her up.
Oh,
So maybe
well,
that's
when
what
you
it is that she felt
if they
like if
showed
you
you
put
up,
you yeah
that's that's where if I was in her situation and I'm like, wow, these highfalutin,
yeah
although you're on the East Coast, but yes, the highfalutin lawyers from LA are showing
these
you up. It's like, yeah,
Hollywood
the
people,
Hollywood
yeah,
big shots are showing you
Hollywood
up. It's like,
Jackson.
well, what am I doing wrong? Although the funny thing is, I know David Yanetti's a fixture. He's got an office
Yep,
right there in town.
he does.
And although to be fair, I mean, Bev knows who these people are. She knows who Yannetti is. She knows who Alan Jackson is. And then Bob Alessi, and I don't know if your chat is aware of this. Bob Alessi works for like one of the biggest law firms in the world
Yeah,
and
New
is
York.
one
Yeah,
of like the high-ranking partners in that law firm.
that's right.
Like
They
he's
do
the glo- he's the
defense. They
he's
do
the vice
global.
the vice chair for global litigation at DLA Piper, third biggest law firm in the world by revenue.
Wow. And they
At
do
you
like
know,
litigation, SEC,
well,
FDA. Like they're involved in the federal
yeah,
government
it's like
stuff
it's
so
like
much.
like if you guys ever want to see somebody who's Harvey Specter, that's Harvey Specter right
Yeah.
there. And yeah, I'm sure she didn't like all of that, but to then turn around and let Hank Brennan rub his balls in her face like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like, if she didn't like Jackson, fine. But
I
I'll
mean,
show you how much I hate you, Alan Jackson, by letting Hank rub his ball sack on her face. Because the way Hank did all those things, like, no, over here, look at me, look at me.
yeah.
And just the
Yeah.
way he acted at trial, that's inexcusable. And if I had tried that, like, I can tell you, yeah, I'm in Ohio, and it's all we're all simple folk out here and all that. But if I was trying that in a trial, the judge would come up like, "Hey, counsel, can you guys approach?" And he might take me into chambers, like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Or if the prosecutor started doing that, he'd look at the prosecutor like, "The fuck are you doing? Are you okay? Is
Exactly.
what's going on here? Why
Are
are
you
we
having a
doing
bad
this?"
day? Are you on
Yeah,
drugs today? Do you
yeah.
have
Are
a
you having
bad
a bad
reaction?
day?
You having
Did
a allergy reaction or something?
yeah.
Like, what's going on? Yeah.
But instead, she let Hank, and I'm glad the jurors saw it
Yeah, exactly.
because Hank acted like a complete
Mhm.
asshole
Turned them off. Yep.
the whole time. Yeah, and that's a very big danger. I mean, at some points, yeah, if you're in a fight with a witness and you're up there and it turns into a fight, okay, and the jurors like that. They like you're holding your own. It gives them something to like, ooh, this is interesting. But when you just come up there and Dr. Russell sit there and oh, I've been a
Mm.
doctor, she's the astronaut millionaire cowboy. She's done it all in her life. And Hank Brennan just starts coming after her. It's like,
Yeah,
you're
but her
attacking
age.
somebody's nana.
Yeah, that's
And then
crazy.
and I can't imagine Hank's because I don't practice up there, but I can't imagine what Hank's like position is in the legal community up there right now. Because if I had a divorce hearing or some sort of civil case, whatever, where we had to go out, we had to sit down and have it kind of like a face to face. We're sitting in the conference room, our clients are out waiting in the hallway, we're trying to figure something out. I'm not sure I would trust a goddamn word coming out of Hank's mouth at this point.
No way. No way.
And the way
I would
he's
challenge
acted and the way he
everything.
does all that, I would have. You wouldn't have any friends in town. Nobody would like, hey, can I get a continuance? Fuck you. Hey,
Yeah.
can I get fucked like that? That's what happens when you become an asshole. So I can't
Mm.
imagine this helps Hank. Like, I don't know why he did it this way, unless this is how he always is. And if he is always this way, I don't know how he became a successful lawyer, because you generally can't, when you're on your own, act like this. It doesn't work. So I
Definitely
don't know.
not.
I don't know.
And really, especially the statements he's been putting out after the fact
Mhm.
too. It's like, how about
Oh yeah,
respecting the jury too, buddy?
yeah.
Like this
No, that's
jury
that's
that
what I
sat
said
there for
too.
weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and
Hmm.
he's just a piece of shit. He really is.
Yeah.
Took all that money and
Well, he still got more money to bill. I bet
yeah,
he's a couple 100,000 more. But at least Morrissey had the balls to say the jury has spoken.
yeah,
Okay, like it's something. And Hank just crying about the victims. I mean, although to be fair, I I'm not sure if your people have watched me at all during the trial, but every time Paul sits there, Paul looks like a Neanderthal to me
mm,
when he's sitting there, especially with his like little frontal brow that he's got going on.
yeah.
So Paul's sitting there in the back, they have him just sitting there. He's just staring, looking around every time there's a sidebar. And I'm, Paul, like I would just start talking as Paul. And it's like, Paul think law house fun. Paul like law people. Paul not like Karen lady. And
It's
and when
funny.
Paul's sitting there in the suit the one day, it's like, Paul wears
Paul
suit.
wears a suit.
Paul
Paul
looked
played
like
football.
engineer or law people.
Paul was a good football player.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he
Mm.
was.
He
You know,
was. Him and Tully, they were both on the same team. Tully
oh,
and
they were. Oh,
yeah, they played at Stonehill College on the football team. It's funny, back in the day when I was at Bridgewater, we used to go to Stonehill
yeah.
because it was mostly all girls. It was, I believe it was an
Yeah.
all women's college, but then they went co-ed at a certain point.
Okay.
So like when we used to go over there, it was still, I think it was co-ed at that point, but it was mostly women still. So we used to always go hang out with over at Stonehill.
Yes.
So yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's where they went to school, and they were
Okay.
both athletes.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I know Paul had to go to court for Turtle
I
Boy,
played football.
but that's why he's wearing the tie. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking, Paul wear
Paul Paul
tie.
Paul brought Paul texted. I don't know if he texted her. I don't know how he got in communication with her, but Paul wanted the fake victim to show up at court.
Which one? Oh, when Turtle Boy was there to
Lindsay,
to
yeah,
run him
yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like that's why I don't feel bad. Like, suffer Paul keeps suffer.
Oh
Suffer
yeah.
Paul.
I mean, I gotta
Yeah.
say, I do feel bad for that family. I know some people
I feel
don't.
bad for the kids, but I'm
I
not
feel
necessarily
bad
I
for
don't
the
feel
kids, especially those two
yeah.
kids. Yeah, but now I even feel sympathy for Paul. I don't think he's
Yeah.
the brightest guy. I agree.
Yeah.
I think they've all fell for some shit,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope
And
that
it's hard to
they,
back out of that at that
yeah,
point too.
and
I
I
get
hope they
that.
smarten up. Like I gotta say, like our side, I don't know if they know this. I think I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like people would welcome them with open arms if they ever
Hmm.
saw the light on this. I would. I'd be like, come on, you know,
Yeah,
come on my
I think
show. Even
tell us.
now, even
Yeah.
even them being on the side, I would
Yeah.
welcome them on my show right now and I would be nice as could be to them. I would, because they've been through a lot,
Yeah.
especially that mom. And I really feel for the father because I think the
Yeah.
father is like the most. I do. I feel bad for the family, and I
Yeah.
definitely would welcome them onto my show, even if they want to talk all shit about Turtle Boy. I would let them. I would let them,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't push back. I'd treat them respectfully. So I'm putting that out there. If they ever listen and want to come on my show,
Mm.
definitely welcome. But I would encourage them to look into it more and
Yeah.
don't be afraid
Oh,
to question it. And if you do question it, there'll be a world of people willing to support
yeah.
you. I guarantee you that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though because this time around the you know dragging the Alberts in to make them sit there in court and stare at the jury. I mean, it was interesting this time around. It was just them sitting there facing the
Mm,
jury.
yeah.
I
You
mean,
wonder if there's been a split. I have a
I
feeling.
think they kind of wonder. Like, I mean, are they honestly looking at this like, the second time around now? A lot of people seem to think it's no longer just Karen Reed and her attorneys with a kook theory. It's a lot of people saying, "Wow, there's something really sketchy that happened with John's death." Um, those people the people that are claiming to be your friends. They may have they may be the bad people.
Yeah.
I wonder
Think
if
about
they
that.
I wonder if they're starting to have that
And
realization.
imagine too, within that family, you
Mhm.
mentioned the kids because those kids
Yeah,
will eventually be adults.
yeah,
And even with the O'Keefe family, there's a lot of thoughts that maybe the father
hmm
doesn't agree with the others. We're not
hmm
sure about it. Like we really haven't seen them speak out on it.
yeah,
But it'd be because we talked about how families have been split in Canton in terms of relationships
hmm
and I wouldn't doubt if they have some of the same issues in the future going forward, where one or two of them split off and start being a little
hmm
more vocal and asking questions and
hmm
I wouldn't doubt if that happens internally right now. Who knows how maybe one person in the family is a little more asking questions. So
hmm
it'll be interesting. And I really do hope that one of them would come around and really look into it because I think that family needs closure. I feel awful for them. I do. They are truly the victims in this.
Yeah,
They're probably never going to get true closure for the son.
no.
Tragic.
And those kids though, I really feel
Mm,
bad for those kids that they
horrible.
had to learn and this is where once again, Hank Brennan wanted to like booyah,
Yeah. It's a
like
piece of shit.
Hank Brennan was so obsessed with scoring goals.
Mm,
He's just kicking the ball into the net and he isn't taking time to realize what net am I kicking into.
yeah.
But now these kids are learning about how their mom and their dad died. Like I don't think, like, did the kids know that's how they died?
I don't
Do you
know.
think those kids want everybody out there in the world knowing how they
No,
died?
even if they know, and
Yeah,
like you said, they may not have known, and
yeah,
now they do, and definitely I guarantee you,
mhm,
they don't want every kid at school to know.
mhm,
This, they might if they knew, they might have a couple friends they might trust that with, but guarantee you there's some people in that school they did not want them to know about all their info, about their parents.
mhm,
So yeah,
yeah,
it's terrible.
and like I
Why?
said,
Why
those
do that?
mhm. Well, and getting to the kids, like, the one thing I think, as far as any of the pro Karen Reed side of it, that lady who went over and danced at the house,
Yeah,
like, that was, like, I'm not gonna lie, if that car had clipped her and broke her hip or something, I would have laughed at that.
yeah.
But, like,
I'm
that lady
hearing
out there,
different stories on that. I'm hearing that she's not pro Karen Reed,
oh,
that
no,
she's
what
been doing it all over town, and that she's got some kind of mental illness going on there. So
I don't know, that just seems a little, well,
yeah.
either way, it sounds like she
Well,
deserves to
that's
get
what
hit
I'm
by
hearing from
a
Canton
car.
people, and they
Okay,
showed us pictures of her in other places around town
okay,
doing it, like, even months ago. Like, she's been
okay.
doing this for a while. Like, it's a
So she just randomly gets out of her car and dances and
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's
Something's not
just
right up with her either.
that's just
And
the
and
biggest
and
goinky dink ever.
and some people think she's actually anti-Karen Reed. Like,
Okay,
so
well,
who knows?
I don't
But
know.
whoever it is, it's that's the stuff that, like, I'm glad you brought it up because that's the stuff. Leave that family alone.
Yeah,
Like, that's the thing. I don't care who you are. Just
mhm,
leave them alone. Like, especially the family,
yeah,
especially at his house. They're living in his house. His parents are
mhm,
living in his house. They're thinking about this shit, and then wackos are showing up. So, whoever it is, like, get help. Stop it.
I agree. Yeah, it's just it's so, oh, Otto says, "Birchmore, are you gonna follow it?" I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's an easy question.
Oh yeah. We've been following it.
Yeah.
We actually just broke some news on that. Did you see that? 2 nights was the last? No, 2 nights ago.
Well,
Um.
I know the DNA testing came back, that
Yeah.
story, but
No,
what's
not
the new
that one.
news?
Well, it's just about Michael Morrissey mostly.
Oh,
We had the DA candidate. I call her the
mhm,
front runner because I feel like she's going to win the election. People are like,
yeah,
we need a stronger candidate. I'm like, she's getting endorsements and contributions. It's over a
mhm,
year out. She's the only one really campaigning. And I think Michael Morrissey's going to lose if he runs for reelection. So she came on the show and she's discussing how she went to Quincy, which is the stronghold for Michael Morrissey. It's the
mhm,
most populous city, basically, in the
okay.
district. It's a lot of Irish Americans. It's also a
In
lot of hack.
Boston, no way.
Yeah, in Quincy especially too. Like Quincy is like that kind of Irish town. It's like
Mhm,
Southeast known for it too, but Quincy too. And
mhm,
there's obviously some other populations there, but it's
yeah.
kind of a hack town. Quincy's kind of a hack town. There's a lot of you hold the sign, you get a job. A lot of cold holder
Oh, a
positions,
lot of that?
where
Okay, yeah,
yeah, you make a
yeah,
donation. Yeah, you can look up Quincy,
yeah.
Mass. Take a
Well, I'm
look at
just
it.
showing it because not everybody necessarily
Yeah,
knows, and,
yeah,
guys,
Quincy.
and I just showed people, like, we're right outside of Boston, guys.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
Quincy is right outside of Boston. Exactly.
it
It's where Quincy is really where there was a lot of white flight. It was basically like where the Irish Catholics left kind of Boston and went to a secondary city, which is,
mhm,
still a city, but it's more on the water. And that's, a lot of those people from Quincy actually went to moved a little further, went to Canton. So that's what Canton is. There's a lot of Irish Catholics. I'm Irish Catholic. There's a huge Irish Catholic community in Massachusetts, but we've kind of moved out. Like, my grandparents were more city people, and then they moved to the suburbs. There's been a lot of that happening over the years, where the cities have been, more like Boston's not like a black majority, closer. It's still a minority, but it's closer. It's like minority majority city now. Quincy might be, but I still think it's a lot of Irish Catholic there, anyways. So, anyways, she goes to speak at this Democratic event. It's a caucus to decide the convention who gets to speak at the Democratic state convention, and different candidates give their speeches and do a little campaigning. She gives her stump speech against Michael Morrissey. One person starts heckling her, giving her shit because it's his stronghold, and she's criticizing him on Karen Reed and Sandra Birchmore and all the other stuff. And then Michael Morrissey gets up and he basically, and we don't have a video recording of this. I'm going on what the candidate Juna Perkins told us. She told us that Michael Morrissey gets up and says, well, Sandra Birchmore, if you look into it, I believe that the suicide determination of the medical examiner is going to stand up. So he's, basically still sticking to the fact, even after the arrest of Matthew Farwell on the federal level, he's still sticking to the fact that he thinks she committed suicide. And to me, that just happened May 1st, apparently. May 1st of this year, basically 2 months ago. And it's just, to me, shocking that this guy is still publicly speaking about how Sandra Birchmore did herself in, which nobody believes.
Yeah,
And that's not
no.
what the feds are charging. The feds are charging the guy with murder.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty interesting. Yeah, we'll be covering. I mean, the thing that's going to suck about Sandra Birchmore is the feds don't
Yeah,
let us
it's
watch
not
what's going on in
televised.
court. So we're going to
Yeah.
have to actually send people in.
Mm-hmm.
And I have
Well,
one guy who,
the one,
is, go ahead.
no. I'm sorry. The one good thing about federal court is, though, everything is motion practice and it's all online. There is no
You'll get to see
hiding
everything,
stuff, or
read
it's
everything.
easy. Yeah, you could just sit at your
You can't
computer.
watch it, you can read it though.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Yeah, I
easy.
was gonna
Like,
say I got one
transcripts are
guy who
available,
suggests,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I have one friend who's interested in another local federal case on Monica Cannon, and he was saying like he was gonna hire some voice actors to like go through everything and just reenact
Yeah.
everything so we could have it like
Use
watch it
AI
that way.
too.
Yeah, so it could be interesting to see how people
Yeah.
present the documents and as well as what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in Sandra Birchmore every day.
Yeah.
I might
You
go down there. I'm probably going to go down to court a few days and watch that in court as
hire
well.
somebody to make a ton of courtroom sketches, like
Yeah,
like
exactly.
well, did you ever see the courtroom sketches from the Diddy trial?
Yeah, I saw some
He
of
looked like
them.
an alien. Some
He
of
did.
them.
He looked weird, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone has extra time, like mother hours type deal, or maybe a student, and you want to do some of that work, and you want to cover some of the federal cases in Boston, hit me up because I might be looking for somebody to help me out with some of that stuff.
Nice. So yeah, that'll be fun. If you guys are in the area, definitely hit Mike up. He'll, go do something fun. Have some fun with it, because
And the federal courthouse too in Boston is beautiful. I don't know if people have seen it. It's downtown area. It's a kind of the last area in Boston that didn't get really redeveloped until the very end. It's been like kind of redeveloped more recently. It's the seaport, so it's like you're right on the water. It's this beautiful glass encased building, and when you're in the like lobby area, you can see the water. And there's places to walk around there. There's a lot of cool restaurants, a lot of new housing in the area. So it's kind of a fun place to do a trial, actually. So I think we'll all have fun over there. Just don't fall in the water. Don't fall in the ocean.
don't fall in the water.
Just be careful.
So
We've had a lot of people drowned, a lot of tourists drowned over there. I don't know what's going on over there. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about it too.
Yes. And somebody real quick, they were bringing up, I think it was maybe in your chat or my chat here. Hold on here, where is, somebody asked, why is Sandra Birchmore's case federal? And it's because they charge him under federal law. And it's really, yeah. And
the second part of that is because the state wouldn't do anything.
Yes.
The state basically had investigated it, ruled it a suicide, and then wouldn't do anything about it. And the state had done something, I think maybe they wouldn't have gone with the feds.
And this is what they did here, guys. It's called killing a witness or a victim, and that's under 18 USC 1512. And I don't know if you guys can you guys read that? Yeah, you guys can read that.
And that's the thing too. The state could still file charges. I contend they never will when it's Michael Morrissey. But like I said, I think Juna Perkins will be the new DA in January of 2027, and maybe she'll indict someone on the state level then, because I would not doubt it. She seems interested in it.
So what he's been accused of, he killed Sandra Birchmore, a person known to the grand jury. And he did so because of the relating to the commission or possible commission of a federal offense. And which federal offense, which he'd been a witness to testify to, the deprivation of rights under the color of law, which is a violation of 18 USC 242, and wire fraud. Well, there's 18 USC 1343, and then also coercion and enticement, which is another federal offense. So that's why it's federal. He killed a witness that the federal grand jury would have wanted to talk to, a person known by the federal grand jury. Sandra Birchmore may have had, seen a lot of stuff that she probably shouldn't have seen. And, that makes it a federal offense. So that's why the feds are going after him. So that's why.
What do you think is going to happen on this? Because this has kind of been delayed. A lot of chatter that he might be talking about some other officers.
Oh, I'm sure they've told him, you start running a gossip column. Like, it's do you ever watch The Shield?
Yeah, a little bit with Vin Mackey.
Yeah,
he's a local guy, the actor.
Yeah, Michael Chiklis. Yeah, do you remember at the end where he's confessing to the police everything he did?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, at the end he does. At the end he does. He gets a federal immunity, and he looks at the guy's got she's got her tape recorder on the table, and he's like, "How much room does that thing have left?"
Yeah, that sounds like him. That was a great character. Yeah, I mean, because he daily he was doing shit.
But but the way it's going to work here, Farwell's going to have to
really roll.
Have to sing, and he's going to have to deliver some good stuff. So I'm sure he is. I'm sure they're trying to work all of that out. I think part of it too is the feds were like, they get to take their time. Yeah. They can move as fast as they want, as slow as they want. And, there's no point. And I mean, the feds love nothing more than embarrassing local government. And why run this in the middle of the Karen Reed thing? Let Karen Reed play its course, and then we'll embarrass them with this.
Yeah, then we'll get the spotlight.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have a lot of spotlight on the feds in the next couple of years. There's going to be a lot of good court cases coming up here.
Yeah, then there's a couple more cases out there, Chet. There's it's this Enrique guy. I don't know a whole lot about his case. Do you know what they're talking about exactly?
Yeah, Enrique Delgado Garcia was a state police recruit at a training facility. He died boxing, and there's been a lot of mystery on how it actually happened. It seemed like there was a lot of issues with how that whole thing went down. And now there's an independent investigation, and it looks like actually there is a grand jury now. So something is going on around that. And it's sad because his family's been asking for questions for quite a while and didn't get any answers. So we'll see what happens with that one.
That one's interesting because I didn't know it was a boxing. Like, he died in the boxing ring. Like, I just thought, like, did they run him till he died? But yeah, it's really hard to die in a boxing ring unless someone's trying to kill you. Like, you have to get,
or they mismatch you.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. I think I used to be a wrestling coach. High school wrestling coach. The big thing, you just want to make sure you match your kids up in practice. Sometimes it'd be hard because if you didn't have enough kids and they weren't, that sometimes maybe a coach would jump in and just, go easy on the kid. But
or you tell the heavyweight, like, let this guy do whatever he wants, let him practice. Yeah.
But even there, sometimes, you see someone kid maybe overpower another kid, and you're like, we don't want him to get hurt, but I mean, that's the thing. Like, you think that they would be worried about that stuff. You'd never want to see someone get hurt.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we know all about boxing from Brian Albert being a boxer. So
that's right.
And that's an interesting one. That's a lot more. All his teeth were knocked out. Ooh.
It seems like there's been a lot of back and forth. Yeah, it looks that way. But I gotta say, it wasn't in Norfolk County, so it wasn't but it's still Mass State Police,
Well, yeah, the MSP, and that's the thing where when I first started the Karen Reed thing, when I first started the Karen Reed trial, I'd explain to people, guys, like, The Departed's almost a documentary. It's not just a fictional movie. Like, the MSP is a horribly corrupt organization.
Oh, totally. They had someone that Departed is pretty close. I mean, that's and there's been a lot of this shit going on for years. Like, it just there is a lot of corruption.
Yeah. And it's an uncommon thing there. And I guess I kind of wanted to get to this because I think it kind of is interesting to talk about how I got started with Karen Reed. What got you into the whole Karen Reed story? Like, how did that start for you?
Turtle Boy.
And the Turtle
Boy?
Boy?
Really, it starts back on my show. just doing what I do. Um, I've been doing the show, The Young Jurks. Now, this is the 11th year. It's shocking, I know. And we started, it wasn't even on YouTube or Facebook. We weren't even doing video. It was just a streaming audio show on a radio network. It used to be
Mm-hmm.
run, basically the guy who had all the jam spaces in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
a musician. He would have some comedian shows and some musical shows, and then I was like the public affairs show. I was like the serious
Mm-hmm.
show. I bring the politicians in, talk about musician rights and things like that, and even some of the other causes like cannabis. I did. So I've been doing that for a long time. Had a lot of liberals on the show, leftists, and like I said, also libertarians, everybody from all parties. And I
Mm-hmm.
became aware of Turtle Boy, and specifically his blogs and him going after people. And sometimes they'd be my friends, and sometimes they'd be people who were allies that I felt like actually deserved to get exposed for their bad deeds, but maybe I didn't want to do it. And I'm starting to see this guy. He's doing it. But he's right wing. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of and one of my people that I really supported on the like kind of Black Lives Matter angle, she went at him and he went at her, and they had a huge feud, and I was backing her. But then I realized she was not. We'll cut to the chase. She's up on federal charges. So she's got her own federal case happening in that Joe Moakley building. And Aiden was one of the people that took her down. And there's a lot of other stuff like that I saw him reporting on. And I basically came at it from the beginning like, I don't like this guy. He's attacking people. He's too crude. He's too nasty. He's right wing. And then I started realizing, wow, he's actually doing a service for us. He's getting rid of the worst people that no one else wants to oppose because they're leftists, and we're a leftist state. So that's good. And then he's a back the blue guy, and he's exposed the most police corruption in the state. That's when I really said, wow, this guy's got principles. He's not just going with his politics. He's saying, you know what? I'll back the blue, but if you're a bad, dirty cop, I'm going to expose your ass. And what I also realized is that a lot of the cops that were watching him and loving him were sending him tips about the other dirty cops. So that's how he started getting some of these big stories. So secretly, I realized, like a lot of people out there, that there's a lot of us who are liberals watching him and maybe moderates, and we don't love everything about him, but we're
Mm-hmm.
getting news from this guy, and we're like, this guy is actually breaking news. Like we can't help but read it. And then he started doing the Karen Reed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few, like he had, I can remember specifically one day there's a lawsuit against a city councilor she filed against him, a libel suit. And I had that woman on my show and I like her. And so I was like, is this the end of Turtle Boy? And he started posting on my Twitter.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's explaining why, no, this ain't the end. I always win these things. And I was like, okay. And I said, I'm going to take that down because I agree with your post. Like, you know more about this than I do. I'm just going to take it down. And he was cool to
Mm-hmm.
me. We started chatting
Yeah.
a little bit. And so I'm watching the Karen Reed shit, and I just started sending him messages. I'm like, dude, holy fuck. Because I'm watching his shows. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this happened or that happened. And then at a certain point, I was just like, you know what? I'm having him on. And I sent him the message. I said, will you come on my show? And he's like, yep. I had him on my show. As soon as I announced I was having him on my show, a bunch of people decided that they were going to boycott me and threaten me.
Yeah.
Who were supposedly friends and allies, right?
Yeah.
And then we were off, and that was it. That's the whole story how I got on Karen Reed.
Awesome. Yeah, my story also involves Turtle Boy. And my chat knows this because I started I know about Turtle Boy through Kate Peter. And I knew about Kate Peter because there was a sovereign citizen guy I've been following named Chili DeCastro. And he's a complete lunatic. And a couple of years ago, it might have been 2 or 3 years. It might have been 3 years ago now. Chili showed up to, I forget what town in Massachusetts. It might have been Dedham. It was somewhere up that way, up by you guys. And he showed up there and he called out Kate Peter because Kate Peter had been mocking him and making fun of him. And Chili's an idiot and a sovereign citizen. So it all worked out. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, funny. She shows up and she basically confronts him and Chili runs away like a little girl. So it was actually pretty funny. And Chili tried to get like a harassment order or restraining order. I forget what you guys call it up in Massachusetts. He tried to get one of those against her. And at the time, Chili was working with a guy known as Accountability for All, Josh.
Abrams, I think his name
Yes,
is.
Josh Abrams. Yes, he was Chili's bro on that. And at that point, this guy named Turtle Boy shows up, and I'm watching the video, and I'm like, "Who the fuck is Turtle Boy?"
These characters, yeah.
Yeah, he just comes out of nowhere,
Oh, you know
and
what's
he's like,
funny? I gotta say, well, I just want to say one thing, because he had been written his blogs forever. When I
Mhm.
first saw him, because we didn't know
Yeah,
what he looked like. That was
yeah,
the funniest thing. Go ahead. I was just like,
Mhm.
That's him."
yeah,
You expect something else, you know? Go ahead.
yeah. Well, I
You
expected
see Turtle
something
Boy.
too, and I'm like,
Good.
and he came into
Yeah.
court, and him and Kate don't get along, and I didn't realize they had like a story that they had, but they really fucking hate each other. And I was like, wow. I'm like, what the hell happened here? And at that point, Turtle Boy's like back in Chile, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I like Turtle Boy because I'm like, all Kate did was fuck around with Chili, and Chili's an asshole. So, I kind of wrote Turtle Boy off,
Yeah.
and I hadn't heard about him, out of sight, out of mind till, probably, you know, 3-4 months before the trial, maybe 6 months before the trial. I start hearing about Karen Reed, and I'm like, everybody in chat's like, look, dude, she hit a guy. She accused of hitting her boyfriend, killing him and leaving him in a snowbank. And there's like the police planted the body. And I'm like, okay, this makes no goddamn sense. How you plant a body in a blizzard? And I hear, just the bits and pieces from my chat. I'm like, I'm like, yeah, we're not like, there's other great trials out there to cover, you guys. And then eventually people start mentioning, oh, Turtle Boy's covering it. I'm like, well, fuck Turtle Boy. I'm like, I already know who he wrote, I already had my experience with Turtle Boy. So I was like, guys, we're not going to get involved. And eventually they kind of wore me down. And I watched a Turtle Boy episode or two before we started the trial. I don't think I've told my chat this. I watched it and I'm like, oh shit, this is pretty interesting. Because I started getting into the first episode and I'm like, all right. And I'm like, by the end, I'm like, damn. And then I watched the next one, and then I told Chad, I'm like, all right, we're covering Karen Reed. And I jumped into it. I didn't know anything about it the first trial. I learned I learned all the lore from the first trial onward. So, but yeah, without Turtle Boy, I don't know where Karen Reed would be today, but it is interesting how, I think almost most people in this will say they learned about this through Turtle Boy or
Oh,
because of Turtle Boy.
I would not be involved in any of this without Turtle Boy, and I just got to say
Yeah.
too, like, for me, what's been awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and I see this all over the place in the streets of Canton, for instance, but
Mm-hmm.
I realized that so many of us were watching him and not saying anything because we're either liberals or moderates. And I think when I came out, when I started having him on the show, more liberals and moderates said, you know what? I'm going to support Karen Reed. Like, I really feel that. I feel like they felt more comfortable. And I feel like my platform is maybe a little more than like that, where people can support Turtle Boy, but you don't have to agree with his politics, which I like. And I see it on the streets of Canton. Like when I went to Canton most recently, one of the guys, he's a wicked MAGA, and he knows I'm not MAGA, and we love each other because we're both cannabis guys actually. And his name's Rich. He's actually the guy who had the charge of the Duck King, MAGA Rich,
Okay,
and he
I
was
heard of the name. Yeah.
and here we are, like, taking a picture together. He's got his MAGA hat on, and like I was standing there one day, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't tell. I'm not gonna say the name, but I'll make up a name. I didn't tell Joe and his wife about how I'm a wicked MAGA and how excited I am that we won the presidential race. You know what I mean? Because the other couple were liberals, and they're well-known liberals in Canada." And I just laughed. I said, "Yeah, I always wondered, how do you guys handle that?" He's like, "Oh, I think they secretly hate me." And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, me too, Rich. I hate you." And we just laughed. We started laughing, like, because I don't hate him. I love the guy. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like we hate each other's politics, but we like Rich and I, we can give each other a little not like it's funny, like so
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that people can get over that, can just get over that. We don't agree on everything, but what we agree on is exposing this little corruption that's going on here, and it's invaluable. I think what Turtles Boy's done over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree. It's been absolutely critical, and I as I said, I may disagree with a thing or two he's done, but overall, I mean,
Exactly.
I don't fault him for what he did, and I have to applaud his results at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So,
And so the fact that he's got the guts too to do some of the things that he's,
mhm,
it's like a lot of us don't have that in us, like let's be serious. I'm not gonna put myself in kind of the harm's way he's often put himself in. He is a martyr. Like that's one thing when I started getting in activism and community
mhm,
and doing stuff like this, I got bitter quite a few times because I put myself out there too much. I became a martyr.
mhm,
This is what I worried about the woman that's going, like I said, the Black Lives Matter woman. She's going to jail.
mhm,
I looked at Aiden like this too, and not that they're the same. They're not the same in most respect, but they are the same that they kind of put themselves out there. They'll do more. It's like you become a martyr. You're doing so much for the cause, and
mhm.
then sometimes you can get bitter about it. So,
Yeah,
for someone like Aiden,
very
he has
true.
put on so much for this. And that's
Mhm,
why when I see him get like gripes or get upset about shit, I give him all the leeway in the world because you know what?
yeah,
Nobody's done what he's done.
yeah. No, it's
Like,
been very, very
when he,
selfless, very
yeah.
selfless.
And when he blew off steam this week about people
Mhm.
not, coming on his show, I supported it. I got it 100%
Well,
because you know what? They should be on his friggin' show.
well,
And the fact
I
of it is,
think,
I know he had to put an apology
yeah,
and all this other shit, but at the same time, I think a lot of the people, a lot of the fans are like, you shouldn't say that, or you
mhm,
shouldn't feel that way, or you're.
yeah.
It's like, shut the hell up.
Well,
Let the
that's
man vent. He's put everything on the line.
mm, yeah. No, I think actually what happened is a lot of people were getting mad for Turtle Boy. Like
I was.
I,
I
well,
was.
yeah,
I
and I
got
think
mad. I did. I gotta admit, I got mad for him.
mhm,
And even for
that's
me. And not even for me, but for like the 10 shows that like a lot of us, we were early adopters and we
mhm,
raised money. Like and so for
yeah.
me, it's kind of like you didn't
Which
even you
it's
should be going on Mazza Media.
yeah,
Mazza
you
Media
Mazza,
was
LTL,
especially
uh,
Mazza. Yeah, Mazza like
mhm,
Mazza didn't grow his channel as much. He grew
mhm.
LTL in my channel.
Yeah.
Like, you
Then
know what
there's
I
like
mean? So like,
Blair, like all you
yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Like, so someone like him, he should get first dibs out of anybody. Or I
Mhm,
think Turtle Boy and Mazza. Honestly, that's the way I would have
mhm,
done it. If because that's the way I look at the world. I
mhm,
look at who gave, who did the most, and for me to see
mhm.
these attorneys, I'm just kind of like, oh, you're not, you don't really don't give a shit. That's the way it feels like. And so like
Well,
for Turtle Boy to say something and for me to say something,
mhm,
hey, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna
well,
lie. I'm gonna tell you how I feel and what so.
sure. But I think Turtle Boy understands, and I think this was more of him. I think Turtle Boy was getting frustrated with people were getting mad on his behalf,
That's it. Well,
and I
that's
think
it. That I mean,
it was more of Turtle Boy. I think was trying to explain like I don't need you guys to get like you don't need to get all you don't need to get your tampons all scuffed up over this for me. I'm okay with this right now. And Turtle Boy, that's because he's a professional. It's the selflessness of it's not about me that this in time things will happen.
I think it's
I
more
mean,
than that, though. I have to say,
mhm,
because for me, like, I'll give you an example.
mhm,
I got a crew of people that a crew of like 5 moderators. 4 of
yeah,
them are women. 4 of them have given a lot of money to Karen Reed's Defense Fund,
mhm,
and a lot of my audience has too. And it's more than people are disappointed. They're like, I feel like they slapped us all in the face. Like, so when
mhm,
you're Turtle Boy and you have a team behind you
mhm,
and you have an audience behind you that's
mhm,
just given money and time to this cause, and they're telling you that they're
mhm.
pissed off, you almost feel like you have to say something. You have to say something. And
I get that.
and you also like there is an element of truth to it. Like
Sure, sure.
what like why aren't they doing these shows? Why did they take 5 shows that didn't raise any money?
Mhm. Well, no, and I will say from everybody getting upset about it, I don't think they're wrong either. Like, I understand the
That's
argument. I
it.
fully understand it.
I do.
But
I do too.
I think Turtle Boy is very much of the consummate professional here that number 1, I'm not owed anything. I did my if like he didn't do this for favors or adulation. He did it as he
This is
did
what
the
we love
right
to do.
thing.
This is what we do. This is what
He
we're
did
here
it, it's
for.
his passion, but he did a good thing because it was a good thing. and that's the reason why he did it. It wasn't for any other reason. And I think it's clear, though, in the meantime, that, as far as the attorneys, how they wanted to go on with it, who they want to go on with, them at the end of the day, they get to make their own decisions in that
They
regard.
totally
And
do.
yeah,
That's totally their call, but we also get
yeah,
to say how we feel too. And we get to express
sure,
our feelings on it, and
exactly.
especially about our supporters behind us, because some
Hmm.
people are disappointed. Let's be serious. And for us
Hmm.
to sit there and pretend, oh, we're it's fine. Go do all those. Like that's not us. We're not gonna. So I
Hmm.
think it's just being honest. And the fact of it is, it doesn't affect me.
Hmm.
Like, if these guys never come on Turtle Boy show or my show or Maz's show
Well,
or the
makes you feel
Galera
better. They're never
or
coming on my show
LTL
either.
or Nurse Kim, I'm naming all the shows that raise
Yeah,
money. Auntie Deb, if they
yeah.
never do any of those shows,
Well, hold on.
we're all still gonna be leading here in
Ho-
Massachusetts. All those shows are like, it doesn't
yeah.
matter in the end,
Well,
you know.
well, Mike, I was going to say actually because my people may not know this, but go list some of those channels out because I think they know some of the channels, but they don't know all of them.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
know, the
you were
problem is
just
I
listing
may
them
miss
off.
some,
Yeah, but the
but
ones
I'll
you can
say
rattle
like
off.
a lot of the shows that
Hmm.
raised money considerably and did it over and over again for Karen Reed. Mazza
Hmm.
Media, number one. LTL Media. He donated a lot of money, a lot of his own money, like even his YouTube money. Never mind his like donations and just promoting. LTL Media did phenomenal. Mazza Media, those two guys did a lot. I also say the Galera, he did a couple huge benefit shows and
Hmm.
raised a lot of money as too. Some people that don't have shows also, Nick Rocco is the number one fundraiser by far for Karen Reed. Very selfless individual. He's getting some shit right now on Twitter, or Instagram, which is ridiculous. That guy raised, I think, over $1 million for Karen. I mean, there's been a lot of people like that. I'll say some of the
Hmm.
other ones. Calling All Beings has run some fundraisers for Karen, definitely. Nurse Kim did a lot of fundraisers, raised a lot of money for Karen. Auntie Deb. Now, Auntie Deb's starting to blow up, getting more followers, but
Oh,
I'd say pound for pound,
yeah.
raised more money per follower on YouTube than anybody. That Auntie Deb put up numbers that I was envious of, and I had way more followers at the time. So, like, Auntie Deb has so much love from the group of people that's watched that channel, and or he the Auntie Deb raised a ton. Oh yeah, Auntie Deb's name's on there. Raised a
Hmm.
ton of money. I'm sure I'm forgetting some others. Another one
Sure.
I raised a lot of money is Mike and Tom. They're like morning show. They raised a ton of money too. Turtle Boy raised a lot of money for Karen Reed as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, Nurse
Tons.
Kim. That's me. Like for me, I just feel like those shows deserve love because we're not, none of those shows that I named, besides Turtle Boy, none of those shows has 100,000 followers. You know what I mean? None of them have 500,000, three hundred
Hmm.
thousand. Some of these other bigger shows have. They're smaller shows. And when you give up your money and you're on that kind of mid range level, small to middle range YouTube, you're not making much money. So for you to give up any piece of your pie, it has a big effect on you. So I think that those folks, I just feel they should get first dibs, and I don't need it. And that's why I felt like I could say something because I honestly, I knew it once I posted that little thing, a couple tweets that I made, that I'm
Hmm.
probably gone from, having a good chance to get the lawyers to probably be at the bottom of the list. But I don't care because
Yeah.
if I shame them to go on Auntie
Yeah.
Deb and Mazza Media and LTL, I'll have done my job. And
Oh.
Turtle Boy.
Well, like I said, I'll be there. I'll be right there with you. I doubt I'll be on that list of people getting interviewed anytime soon. So.
Is that and you know what? We'll still survive, won't we? Are
Oh
we gonna
yeah.
be fine,
No.
Sean?
Oh
Sean,
yeah. I know. I enjoy it.
it's do you know how for me too, like it's funny because I have the Bettero shows and
Yeah.
those shows go crazy. But I've been doing a few shows that haven't been Bettero lately. And
Hmm.
I love Mark Bettero. He's my friend. I love doing the shows with him. It's an honor.
Hmm.
But I like kind of doing the shows where there aren't as many people watching sometimes because it's just
Hmm.
less stressful. It's just your diehard, the
Yeah.
people
You don't
who
have to
really
worry
like
about
you and know
managing
you.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. When I have 10,000 people watching me, it's like half of them don't know me.
Yeah.
And then they're picking on me. And it's like, you
And your
don't know me.
chat's like a machine gun. It's like, you're like,
Yeah.
How do I keep
That
up?
like, hey, you
Yeah.
you you didn't pay attention to Mark Betterow for like a half a second, and I'm
Yeah.
mad at you. It's like, oh my god,
Oh yeah.
really? You're like, so I like we're gonna go on no matter what. All those
Hmm.
shows, like we're gonna continue. Like it's
Yeah.
not like we're crying like our channel's been ruined because in the
Hmm.
end, it doesn't really matter. In the end, really, it's what's
Hmm.
about. It's about feelings. I gotta like that's what I'm trying to say is like Turtle Boy is allowed to have feelings. I'm allowed to have feelings. The
Sure.
people behind us, especially who have been supporting, are allowed to have feelings, and that's it. I think people just let us have our feelings, let it have it out,
Hmm.
and then we'll
Yeah.
move on. And if the trolls make a big deal of it, so what? Don't no,
Hmm.
I don't give a shit what they say. Like they're idiots. They're
Yeah.
trolls. We know it.
Well, and I guess I wasn't worried about the trolls, but I do think it's important just that people get to talk about it and just because I think a lot of people were giving like, and I mean Turtle Boy clarified it, but I still think people just need to think about it. It's okay to like you could be upset about it, but don't get upset about it for the person on the screen. Like if they get upset, for like you can get upset about it all by yourself. And while your
Yeah,
chat's
and
great,
and
like
and and in the end
yeah,
too, it's like a minor upset. It's kinda
yeah,
like like when you spill your coffee.
hmm, yeah,
You're, "Oh, that sucks, I spilled my coffee." You clean it up and
yeah,
you move on to the next thing.
hmm, and
It's not like
yeah,
I'm upset and I'm gonna, like, hate everything about Karen Reed. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
just like it's like, it would've been
hmm,
nice. It would've been nice if they went on some of those shows. What
hmm. Well,
in the
and
end,
there's
it
still,
doesn't
I
really
mean, and,
matter.
and we're
6 months,
only
we won't even think about it.
we haven't even been 2 weeks since the
I know.
verdict, though. Too.
I know.
I mean, that's the problem. Is like time now travels so fast
It does.
that like 2 weeks ago seems like. I mean, 2 weeks ago we were halfway through June. And that's part of the issue too for people is 2 weeks
It
ago,
moves very
Ka-
quickly.
Karen Reed, we were still in jury deliberations, and we're like, oh Jesus, what's gonna fucking happen?
Right.
And so I think people just need to learn too, like in time, things will
Patience.
happen the time they're meant to happen. Yeah. So
I'm just
that was.
I'm fr I the big thing too, like,
Mhm.
beyond all that stuff is I'm proud. Like,
I think you guys should be
usually
very
usually
proud.
I'm not one of those guys that goes around like, "I'm so proud, I'm honored." But I feel like that because I feel proud to be part of this, like, kind of community of shows, like I just mentioned, a bunch of them. We all fed on
Mhm.
each other. And the
Mhm.
fundraising and, like, I'm proud that I was, part of that with Mazza and LTL and the Galera and Auntie Deb and Nurse Kim and all the guests, like the Nans of the world that would come on those shows, the Nick
Mhm.
Roccos that would help us raise money. It feels good to, nobody can take that away from that crew of people. And the fact that we took so much shit early on, the microdots,
Mhm.
myself, the Galera, like we took a LTL. He still gets harassed.
Yeah.
Like we have taken early on before like when the big shows came along, when the Lawyer and the Melanie Littles, and it became easier for us because now, we weren't the
Mhm.
lightning rods. At the very beginning, it was like 4 or 5 shows and they were coming after us. I imagine
Mhm.
now it's on to Melanie Little and you know, there's all these other bigger shows. So they become a
Yeah.
little more of the focus. I always felt like anytime I have Bettero on for a night, I become the focus and then knives come out again. They all got
Yeah.
tabbing me. And then 2 days later go by and
Mhm.
they're back going after Lawyer, and Melanie
Yeah.
Little and all the bigger shows. So
Yeah.
it's just it's easier when there's so many, I gotta say. But
Mhm.
early on, it was hard. It was
But
the trolls were out of control.
yeah, I think it's good, but I will say this much, and this is something I've learned since I've done been in law school and been an attorney now. But I learned it. I forget. I hear this is an old time. That was back when I was a young lad, back in like '01 or '02, as they might say nowadays. And I forget who it was, but he was an old guy when he said this. He says, "When evil people," and he says, "truly people you think are evil and nasty, curse your name, you're doing something right, and you should be proud of that."
That's right.
And all those people, they're coming at you with their knives. It's
Oh yeah.
um I think it's awesome. I mean, when these people are coming at you and they like that's a to me that's a very much a well you're it's a Walter White moment. It's like say my name, you
Yeah,
know.
it's so true. I never realized that until
Hmm.
the last year or 2 here, because
Hmm.
at first when that was going on, it was like,
Hmm.
"What the I'm not used to this. This is fucking crazy." Like, they like I said, I've said this a few times in the last couple of days. They looked up my parents' 1972 divorce and posted it
Hmm.
online. I didn't even know when my parents got divorced. I
Yeah.
never saw I was shocked. I'm like, did they go to the town hall? Like, how did they get this shit? How did they
Hmm.
even know? Like, I was kind of freaked out by that. They did a lot of crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
But now it's funny, like anytime like I said, anytime they start coming after me again, I'm like, "Oh, my show hit last night. That's
Yeah.
awesome." Like
Yeah.
like
No,
I'm
that's a great.
happy.
What's
It's
my
like
CPM
it's
right
like,
now? Yeah.
"Oh, they're pissed off. I love it." They're
Yeah.
fucking like
Yeah.
sometimes a week will go by and I'll be like, "Hey, Kevin hasn't posted lately about me. I guess we got to do a big show. We need to get
Yeah.
our shit together." Like,
Yeah.
where's Kevin? Where's Plevin? Where's Yellow Cottage Cheese? He's not hitting
Yeah.
us up.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. When like, wait, I mustn't. They aren't mad at me anymore. But yeah, think about it. Those losers because it's 1972. They had to go dig. They had to know your
That's what I'm
parents' names.
saying.
They had to go
I
like
wouldn't even know
those
what town hall to
jackoffs.
look. I'm
Yeah,
wondering what town it happened. I'm like,
yeah.
is it
They had to figure that all out. They had to go wander down to a courthouse, and half of them look like weirdos anyway. I mean, especially imagine if it's Towel Boy walking down the street and, I'm like, he's like, you're a towel, you're stainless steel. Like half these people just
whack? They the
they look
whack
like
pack. They are the
wackadoodles.
they are the whack pack, even like way
Yeah,
worse than the actual whack
yeah.
pack.
So like they have to go down to a courthouse or a town hall or wherever you guys have these records. They have to start digging through boxes of records on their own
For
time. They're not
me,
getting paid for
for
this.
not even Turtle Boy, for me.
Yeah, for you. And for
Like what?
and it's and it's yeah, they're like, well, somebody like if you were to ask them, like, what are you doing? They're like, I have to make the young Jerks man suffer. What by what? By showing the divorce papers. Like,
You
I
know what
almost
they
want to
say?
ask him, like,
Yeah,
does he
they
not
turn
know they're
around and say,
divorced?
You must have daddy issues. This is what
Yeah,
no, this is what they said. This is why you follow Turtle Boy, because you have daddy
yeah.
issues." Like, my dad loves
Uh,
me. I see I get along
yeah,
great with my dad. And I've
yeah,
always I like my stepdad growing up too. Great
yeah.
guy, you know. I never had any daddy
Just,
issues, never.
but just wondering, like, and then you have to go pick all these documents up, and just like you're doing all this to like, like, were there allegations of like people sleeping with livestock in there? Where it's like you're like,
No,
okay,
I
well
didn't
that
see
would be
anything.
embarrassing. Yeah,
I didn't see any of
they
that.
didn't get along. They
They didn't
decided
get
to hang it
along.
up. Like, okay, like,
Separated. They were
yeah,
separated quickly.
yeah, it just happens. It just
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
That's why
Like
some of the
who
stuff
50% of the parents have been divorced out there, and that's the thing they're gonna
yeah,
use against me when my parents got divorced.
yeah,
I don't know. They are they're wacky. They are wacky.
yeah. And then I guess 'cause I got some super chat stuff here, and I don't know how long you're good to stick around for,
I'm
but
fine. Whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to do.
yeah, well, no, I guess I want to ask the one question here is
Okay.
did is John DePet like is John DePietro is he like senile? Like, what's his deal?
I don't know. I mean, he
I
seems
mean,
insane. He seems insane
yeah.
for a long time, though. I mean, there's court documents from his past where he's doing sexual harassment at work, trying to get this,
Hmm.
basically someone that works with him, s- production person at the radio station where he's trying
Hmm.
to get this woman involved in, three ways and swinging and all this other crap. So
Oh,
he
really?
just, yeah, he
There,
has been insane
chat.
for a long
There's a
time.
Rhode Island cover.
Yeah, and then his
Oh
wife,
no,
do you know what happened to his wife? How his wife got in trouble and he threw her under the
no,
bus? Oh,
no.
um, so John has been a longtime radio host.
Hmm.
He's gotten in trouble multiple times for saying ridiculous things on the air. Once
Yeah.
about a Green Party candidate,
Hmm.
all kinds of derogatory stuff. But the most infamous scandal, besides all that stuff, is that his wife, while John was a radio host, was doing the ratings books for like I don't
Mm.
know if it was Arbitron or one of the other ones, like Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
Whatever the ratings, there's a couple different rating companies for the radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
So she was lying. She was basically lying because when they ask you to do one of those
Yeah.
surveys, the first question they ask, does anyone in your household work for a radio station?
Yeah. And the
So
answer,
she
yeah.
yeah, so she was basically doing ratings fraud for him, boosting his numbers. And they got caught. And then he said, "No, I didn't know anything about it. My wife did it on her own."
Mhm.
So like he's a
Yeah.
fraudster. The guy is just
Yeah. Well,
for a
I
long
mean,
time.
I've never done radio myself. But he's like he's like his profile pictures him holding him like the best of Rhode Island. I'm like, I was the number one AM in the smallest state in America. It's
Yeah,
like it's Rhode
he
Island. It's
stuck.
like this big.
Yeah, because he got booted out of Mass. He started in Mass
Oh,
actually.
he did.
Couldn't
Oh,
make it here. What are we like
oh.
10 and
Well,
15th? He couldn't make it here.
I apologize in advance because I don't know like the Rhode Island, Massachusetts accent thing. I don't
Mm,
know the difference between them. So
mm.
he kind of like if he's one or the other, I assume you guys all kind of sound the same. So
Yes
apologies in
and no.
advance on
It's
that
funny
one.
because we even have like I'm from the North Shore. I think our
Yeah.
accents are different than the people in the South Shore. The
Hmm.
Fall River accent came up. Remember that one? That's like
Yeah,
South
for
Coast.
Karen. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a town where
Hmm.
we had our own personal town accents and town words like that
Mm,
were and within the village that I lived in within the
hmm.
town. Do you know what I mean? So like people on one side of town would talk like the hootie, like the how do you call it? The upper crust
Hmm.
settlers, the
Yeah.
the pilgrims, the people who
The
had the
Mayflower.
real money.
Yeah.
Yeah, the millflower people. They would live on the nice side of town. And
Hmm.
then the group of people I live with were like the poor white trash people in their trailers. And we had our own words. We had our own, and like I
Hmm.
said, all the townies. That's where all the townies work. That's where all the town workers work. So
Mm,
like we had our own language. So Massachusetts is funny. We're very
yeah.
parochial by neighborhood, by town, by
Yeah.
region, by state. Yeah.
Well, no,
We
it
all
was
have our
funny.
different things.
It's funny because in my chat, there's a couple people from Massachusetts, and they're like, "Oh, Karen's from Fall River." I'm like, "How do you know that?" Her accent. I'm like, "You
Actually,
guys all, it's all Massachusetts accent to me."
yeah. It sounds yeah, it's funny because it's mostly the same, but then we'll have a little few words that are different, yeah.
Candy says you guys have the stronger accent. Yeah.
Even the Cape has a different accent,
Really? Yeah.
Jefferson said, yeah, I think so. Cape is a different world too. Cape Cod, that's a twilight zone. That area is I love the Cape, but that's a very interesting place.
Hmm. Well, and that's the funny thing because, and I say that, but I can also tell when people are from, in Ohio. I can kind of tell where you're from based on how you say things. And even
Right?
though, for you, you're gonna be like, yeah, they all sound the same in Ohio. And
That's right.
I agree, but yeah, I just when people are like, oh, they're from this part of Boston or whatever, I'm like, it's all Massachusetts to me. So somebody says because I'm retarded. Well,
Oh
thank
boy.
you. Oh, let me see here. But yeah, it's let's see. Oh, Turtle Boy has the PP's full backstory up to date. Okay. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing when we're talking about people getting interviews, this
It's
Court
unbelievable.
TV puts this guy on routinely and they keep
Th-
platforming him.
This is
That's
what
the
drives me
real.
crazy. Court TV and a lot of these
Mhm.
media outlets and the courts themselves platform this guy. Like
Mhm.
they've never invited me on court TV. I
Mhm.
have way more followers, way more listeners, and like I said, I'm like a small to
Yeah.
medium sized podcaster. Really, there's like 15 shows, 15, 20 people who are bigger, probably better communicators than me on the free Karen Reed side. Like Betero. Look at
Mhm.
Betero. They could have Betero every night. Instead, they choose DePietro. Who does that with a brain in their
Mhm.
head? Nobody. Nobody will choose DePietro over Betero. They choose him just because he's, on that other side. There's no one else there. But I'm frustrated that the courts let him in. They have this review process on the journalists on how they let us into court.
Mhm.
I couldn't get approved. I got 2 awards right here.
Why
These
wouldn't they
these
let
were
you in?
these are journalism awards I won. that were voted on the largest cannabis convention on the East Coast by the industry itself that I tore apart. They voted for me because they
Yeah.
consider my journalism top notch. I
Mm-hmm.
broke some of the biggest stories in the industry. They won't. They never. Good question. Won't they let me in? I don't know. I
They never
applied.
told you?
They have an application process. You put your
Mm-hmm.
information in there. Never responded to me. Brian from LTL, I know, also applied. Apparently, they got back to him and told him we don't accept YouTube shows as journalism.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I guess,
Wow.
I could have 4 US Congress people on my show, a US senator, district attorneys, multiple retired FBI agents, all these law enforcement, but I'm not journalism, even though I'm breaking stories every day because I'm on YouTube. I mean, apparently that's how the courts
That's
determine this stuff. But they say that,
mm-hmm.
but again, I'm going back to the Michael Morrissey, the way that they only charge people with witness intimidation when it's
Mm-hmm.
against them. Isn't it funny how they let Grant Smith Ellis in and John DePietro in,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
they don't let
they let Towel
myself
Boy into the courtroom?
or LTL in there? Huh?
Towel Boy
Yeah,
got
they
to sit in the
approved the
courtroom?
Towel Boy. They approved Towel
Jeez.
Boy. So you can make up conspiracy theories. The court will let you in there, the
They want
non-biased
you.
court, and will consider you a journalist when you make up conspiracy theories and talk about Russian oligarchs who are chasing you and you have to hide in safe houses. And when you he accused me of being a dog walker, what would he say? I was a dog walker, Vatican assassin, CIA, like all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories. This is what he does about people. He makes up stories about
That's
them. And they let him in the court as a court approved journalist. He's got a restraining order against him from another journalist, Jessica Machado, who they
Mhm.
also gave a hard time about
Wait,
her,
he has a restraining order against her?
no, she has one against him.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I'm like,
So she
geez.
had one against him and they still let him into the court.
I was about to say, good job, Jess. Go
But they
kick
won't
his
let me in.
ass.
They won't let
Oh,
me in who's never had a restraining orders against him, who's won
mm,
journalism awards, who has done serious journalism, doesn't do the conspiracy
mm-hmm.
theories, doesn't they won't let me in. They won't let LTL in, but they let DePietro and Towel Boy in there. That's the courts in Massachusetts, non-biased,
No.
and they wouldn't even let us stand on the sidewalk when they were doing the buffer zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're threatening to arrest us. Again, lack of access. I couldn't cover this. I had to sit at home and cover it. That's why I wasn't even there on the day of the verdict because it's like I got to stand back like, 50,
Oh,
55 miles away because
hmm.
they don't consider me a journalist, even though I am.
I,
So,
I, I was going to ask you. I wasn't sure if I wanted to ask that because I didn't know what the answer was going to be. But wow, that sucks. You couldn't go, and it's not that far away.
it's frustrating.
Hmm.
And this is why I get so frustrated with what's going on in these courts and our government. If I guarantee you, if I had come out and said Michael Morrissey is the best DA ever, Karen Reed is guilty, submit my application, I would have been approved day one. I guarantee you. That's what's wrong with the courts.
Oh, that's
They have been politicized just as much as the offices of the district attorney. The
hmm,
courts themselves, the court officers, I don't trust that they're impartial when they play these games about who gets to be a journalist and who doesn't.
hmm,
I mean, if I'm making a living doing this,
yeah.
you know, come on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Erica brings up a question. And this is where I ended up getting one because there was a case here in Cleveland. They cut where these fishermen they were in a big fishing tournament on Lake Erie, and they came back and like everybody else caught like these little pathetic fish, and they showed up with like fish that weighed 30 pounds. And somebody like the guy running the tournament grabbed them and pulled out a knife and slit them open and
And
just
the weight
started
come out.
just crapping lead
Yeah,
weights.
yeah, that's right. I
And these
saw that. I
Yeah,
thought
and
that's amazing.
those guys got charged with a couple of felonies, and I went to their
They should.
sentencing, and I was able to cheat a little bit because I have an attorney ID, so I could sneak past all the lines.
Yeah.
But I also needed I was like, well, I'm a journalist. I'm here to cover stuff, and I went and just bought from one of the
Living it.
ID making company press pass, and they give it a nice little like 3D holographic laminate, and I forget what it even is on mine. And at the time, and I just walked in, I was like, well, see, now I'm official IR media person.
There you go. It's funny. I have a couple of those, and I don't even know where
Yeah.
they are because I used to formerly work for some outlets, so I
Hmm.
actually have some of those passes, and I was like, shit, I need to find those. But again, that's not getting me in the courtroom. That's not
Yeah.
getting me in. What I'm applying for is the official press pass to get in the courtroom,
Mm.
and they didn't respond to me. They just did not respond to me. What
That's
does that
bullshit.
say? I mean, and Jessica Machado, who's one of the best journalists that was in that courtroom, she was working for this independent outlet, and then she got laid off by them and decided to go independent through Substack. And the court started messaging her, giving her shit about it, trying to take her pass away. Like she had to
Hmm.
like really give it back to them to get in there. Like it's like, are you kidding me? Like you think that she's not a journalist when she was on Friday
Hmm.
because she got laid off by some
Yeah.
little independent thing, but she's still come
Yeah.
on. Who are you? You know?
Well, I'm glad to know that because actually I'm going to be speaking with Jess on Tuesday night, so I'll bring that up
Ask
with
her
her and
about
see if she wants to talk
this.
about that issue. But
Yeah.
that's so she had a job and then she, was like, "Well, screw it, I'm going to do my own thing." And they're like, "Do you really still count as a journalist?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, come on, that
Yeah. She had
is."
to fight a couple days with them and push back and explain why she's still
Mm.
a journalist. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
She had to submit examples of her writing. Fuck,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
And that's what I didn't want to do. Like,
Hmm.
I submitted a bare bones application because I want to challenge them.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
my
I think that's the right
application
way to do it. Yeah.
My bare bones application should have been approved immediately. I am a weekly, every Friday, I am on WRKO, the Howie Carr Radio Network, one of the largest syndicated radio networks in New England, on WRKO 680 AM in Boston, but also like probably a dozen other New England radio stations. Why am I a weekly guest reporting on Karen Reed? That makes me a reporter. I'm there to give everything that's going on every week on Karen Reed. That makes me a journalist. I put that on there. I put my
Hmm.
show on there, and I put my little, Substack on there. That should have been enough. They didn't get back to me. I shouldn't have to say anything else, and like
Hmm.
it's ridiculous that Jessica had to keep responding back and wasting time and trying to get them to approve, and it's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, he's big time. He is big time, guys.
I'm not big time, but still, I mean those are legitimate. Those are
Yeah.
bigger credentials than
Yes, you
anything
you have
Grant Smith.
legitimate. Yeah,
Yeah,
your bona
that's
fides
bigger
are
than
very
anything
good.
Grant or John DePietro have. John
Mhm,
DePietro, little radio station, and my 1/2 hour on Howie Carr Radio Network, I get
mhm,
listened to probably 10 times the amount of listeners than he does all week on that little
mhm.
shitty station in Rhode Island.
And you still you're responsible for your content to make sure it's advertiser, you bring in advertising and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've broken
Mhm,
tons of stories. The Boston Globe 3 years ago was calling me. This is Mike Crawford did credible reporting on the death of Lorna McMurray and broke the story before the Cannabis Control Commission even knew about it. I'm the one who
mhm,
let the Cannabis Control Commissioners know what was going on. They were watching my show. I've broken many stories like that. To say pretend that I'm not a journalist is such a joke. It's not even funny. It's like, give me a friggin' break. It's like what's their qualifications to judge that? Someone in the
yeah,
court. Like, where did they go to school? How many
yeah,
stories have they broken?
mhm,
How many times has the Boston Globe said that they're a journalist? You know what I mean? Like,
mhm, yeah. What do I have to do?
yeah.
And that's where,
It's like, oh, if
it's
I was at Boston 25, they'd approve me instantly.
mhm.
You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, with the mainstream outlets there, I know. I think it's Ted Daniels, the one guy, one of the reporters. He
Yep,
was
he's great.
very, I know he's talked with a couple people. He's been on things, but it seemed like a lot of the like at least your local establishment media was very much kind of hands off on this one. Like they were like, yes, Karen Reed's a trial, but that's kind of where they left it. They didn't really want to go into,
Well, there's a
well, oh
history there.
gosh, our DA is a scumbag and he's crooked.
No. The
So,
thing is, I've experienced myself. That's why when I mentioned the Boston Globe
mhm,
recently, that was a big moment for me because and I know Turtle Boy's gone through the same thing. It's for years I would break news stories.
mhm,
Other outlets would either do one of two things. They'd either completely ignore them, most of them, or they'd finally cover the story and they'd basically rewrite the story I did. They'd go talk to all the same people I talked to,
Yeah.
get their own quotes, repackage the story, act like I don't exist, and that they were the first one. Boston Globe just broke the story about how all these employees are getting sick at work. They never mentioned me. They did that a lot to Turtle Boy, and they did that a lot to me in the past. And I think the reason they do that is because they didn't want to deal with the competition of these independent outlets. This is all new world. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to lose their own journalists to it because a lot of
So
their
yeah.
journalists have left to join us independents, on
Yeah.
Substack and YouTube.
Yeah,
And
they can fire up a Substack on their own.
so,
there's
so there's a lot
opportunities
of
out there.
it's competition. So when the Globe finally admitted Mike Crawford, they couldn't deny it. They could not deny it. And when they finally did that, I was like, holy shit, they're finally acknowledging me. And I see them do that. They did that for years to Turtle Boy. They would ignore him, ignore all his stories. And then when they actually covered it, they pretend he had nothing to do with it. And they just repackaged what he already reported like it was their own. And now they can't deny it. So I think part of it is there's still some of these guys in the editors' positions, in the management position, not so much the reporters themselves, but they don't want to encourage that independence. And they don't like it. They don't like that Aiden has scooped them over and over again and broken some of the biggest stories on police corruption in the state. They don't like it.
And this one, which is going to be the trial of, the generation for this area. This is going to be the trial they're going to talk about for 20, 30 years now.
Sure is.
I mean, this was it. And they sat on the sides. So they sat on the sidelines.
And then they, to put even, to make even more of a mistake, they continue to ignore it. It's one thing if you ignore it in the beginning, but to ignore it after 2 trials, and especially with this result, you
And now
wonder
with,
why people don't trust the media and politicians anymore. This is the kind of the reason why.
and this is now coming into Turtle Boy. Like, we're now getting into the second half of the saga of the guy who broke it open and has now been attacked. Like, well, what are we doing with this one? So
all they're gonna do is raise his profile. That's the thing I always say. Like, the more they ignore us, the bigger we get, which I like it. Like, the worst thing for me on the cannabis beat was when the Globe started actually covering the same stories I was covering, because now I wasn't the big fish in the little pond. You know what I mean? So sometimes
you weren't the man to get a hold of anymore at that
I
point.
was the guy at the Globe. Whoever's covering at the Globe was, you know what I mean? So, like, sometimes the best thing for them to do is cover this shit. Instead, a lot of times they've chosen the other to just totally ignore us, and that just makes everyone go to Turtle Boy. If he's the only game in town. I like it. Keep ignoring us.
I think
And I'll keep taunting you. I'll keep saying, Boston media, when are you going to cover this? Like they don't, like we did today. We talked about the trolls. They haven't covered the trolls. The only time they ever if you're watching like ABC, NBC, whatever these stations are that you watch, you would think the only witness intimidation or trolling or harassment that's going on related to Karen Reed is who? Turtle Boy.
Yes.
That's it. You would know that there's a Kate Peters out there. But everyone's seen it on YouTube and Twitter and X. So,
or you'd also then learn about the Canton 6 or whatever they were that got arrested too. Yeah, the 9.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you barely ever hear anything. The Duck King. Remember the duck
Duck
investigation?
Guy, yeah. So
they don't cover it.
Yeah. So anyways, I think we're kind of caught up out here, guys, and there's some super chats. I know some of yours, some of mine. If you wouldn't mind, we can go through some of these here. Yeah. So Isabel Park, it's for you, a new member.
Thank you.
Mystery Sniper says for $2. Mavka wants me to explain R. Schiffer.
Rich Schiffer is a guy who put ducks all over town. We call him the MAGA Duck King. He basically, they did a huge investigation, like a 30-something page write-up. Part of it was reviewing. They reviewed my live stream with Rich, where I interviewed him on the sidewalk. It was like 3 or 4 pages of like our conversation. I was like, geez, I wonder how much time they spent reviewing that. They pulled off security cameras off of telephone poles. They did all kinds. They treated Rich like he was Al Qaeda, like he was La Costa Nostra, like he was a mafia kingpin.
Yes.
And he's just a guy that dropped a few ducks around town. All charges got dismissed. More recently, they just announced in the newspaper actually that the Canton police were going to charge him again, him and this other guy named Eric, for witness intimidation and picketing for some protests outside of D&E Pizza in the last couple weeks.
Oh,
But now I'm hearing that that was a false.
stands
It
for
was it was
disgusting and egregious, from what I've heard.
yeah, yeah. And I
D&E
heard now
pizza.
they're not charging him. Now I heard
Oh,
that was a mistake that the Canton police put that out and that they're not going to actually charge them. So we'll
oh.
see.
Hmm.
We'll see. I don't know.
Hmm.
But that's Rich. Rich is a great guy. He's the MAGA guy I was talking about.
Okay.
The MAGA
All
guy
right.
said, "I don't tell them I voted who we did to the liberal." He's
Yeah.
great. I love him. We always give each other shit. He and I. We never would expect to be
Yeah.
best friends without politics, but I love the guy. He loves me. It's like I got a lot of that going on in my life.
No, it's
right
that
now.
common ground out there. There's so much
Right.
of it. Isabel Park for $5 New Zealand says, do you know who's doing the first interview with Karen?
Whoever can pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's the way
Yeah.
it should be. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Like Karen needs
Karen's
to
got
get
to
her money
get that
back.
bag because
Yeah.
she's got, she spent everything she had on this.
Right.
So, yeah, she's got to get that bag.
And I got to say, I love Karen and her family.
Mhm.
Like, one of the first people to reach out to me was her brother, right after this happened.
Mhm.
They're just the nicest people. They really appreciate, I know that they appreciate everybody who stepped up and supported Karen.
And then Creed says for €2, did you know that Towelboy is Wendy Murphy's son?
Oh yeah.
That Wendy Murphy lady is
I've been to Grant's house,
Okay. Oh.
I knew Grant before anybody. Well, I've
Um,
seen Wendy pull up in the Porsche. I had Wendy on my show back in the day. I didn't know anything bad about her. I thought she was
Yeah.
great. I had no idea. It was like a shocker to find out about the Duke Lacrosse stuff.
Yeah, well, this trial has broken so many people, and I don't broke their brains.
Her brain was already broke, but yeah, it's broken.
Well, yeah,
more.
but it really exacerbated. KRM is saying, and I think we covered this, but you will be covering Sandra Birchmore.
Yeah. Oh yes,
as much as can be done.
Yeah, we've been covering it. We'll be covering it definitely.
Yeah. Say, I have a question. Says, I know the threats messed with your head for a while, and I'm not a kiss ass. A lesser man would have said what they wanted. Glad you stood firm.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's weird because when that was going on, I started doubting shit too. Like it was a weird time because they jailed Turtle Boy.
Mm-hmm.
So Turtle Boy's in jail, and he had shared some stuff with me before he got jailed, and that's really what the threats were about. Is like this stupid shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything, but the real thing for me is that all of a sudden they're saying all this crazy stuff that they claimed he did, and I started thinking some of it might be true. And I couldn't talk to him and find out what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
So my brain started going crazy because I'm thinking they're coming for me next.
Yeah.
And what did I make?
Well, yeah, because this all escalated. Yeah. You're like, oh,
did I throw my life over something that's not even true? That's what I started thinking. Like, I don't care. For me, like, I'll put myself on the line for this, and to it, like I said, to an extent. I don't want to go to jail, but at the same time, as long as I don't do it for the wrong reason. For me, like, that's what started killing me is I started doubting. And so I just basically took a break. I got a mental health counselor and I got a criminal defense attorney in case they came to my house. And I just started, for the first time in years, I stopped posting on social media. I didn't post anything for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I just was reading everything. And I reviewed everything in the case again. I went through every court document once again. And I just came back to the same place. And especially with the mental health counseling. She was very helpful. And she even said to me, she's like, are you being scared just to be scared? Like, and it was true. Like they got to me. Those trolls to my head.
It worked.
And once I realized that they're all lying son of a bitches and that the whole thing was just to shut my show down. I went from going once a week to doing like 6-7 times a week. And that's what happened. I just said, you know what? F them. I'm going to come back so strong now. They're going to regret everything they did. And it's come full circle. Like I have a feeling KP regrets what she did to me because that led to the affidavit. I don't know if you've seen the affidavit that was filed. That
Yes,
was
I
from a
did.
listener of my show. That was from a viewer of my show who's listened to
That's
my
the
show and
Jean
realized
lady.
she lived next door to KP. And
Yeah,
KP's
Jean. Yeah.
telling her everything. And KP
hmm
and Jean's writing it down and sending it along to Aiden's,
Yeah.
So
Well,
like you should have never effed with me and got me to go 5, 6, 7 times a week,
yeah, I didn't know you had that relation to it, but I remember seeing the affidavit at first, and I'm like, well, I don't know if this is really as big as it is. Then you see Kate just lose her fucking mind over it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, all
Oh
right,
yeah.
it must be pretty damn legit.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing
Uh,
for me. It was like, I'm like, I don't like because Gene started calling my show at the very beginning,
mhm,
and she's unforgettable. Like she became kind of a big part of my show, and all of a sudden she stopped calling. And I had no idea why. And then all of a sudden I get a call from her, and then she tells me why. And I was like, oh, so like for me, I'm like, who knows? Like I get these calls all the time from people who
mhm,
say things, and then they either chicken out or maybe they're full of shit. I don't never ever find out. And
mhm.
so Jean, would go back and forth with some cold feet, and finally she said, "I'm going to do this." And I said, "Good, go talk to the Turtle Boys people,
Good for
Turtle
her.
Boys attorneys." And I put her in touch with them. And like I said, I didn't know how to. I didn't have the time or the energy to vet her. I'm like, I know who will vet her, Turtle Boys attorneys.
Yeah.
Send her to them, and so that's it. We'll see what happens with it. I
Well, I'm
believe
hoping
her.
something happens. Yeah.
I
I
believe
mean,
her. I know that
the
she
way
did definitely live next to K. Peter.
the way Kate reacted tells me it's very yeah, it's bad for Kate.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
not surprising either. I mean,
mhm. Yeah, I'm not surprised given how this is unfolded too.
yeah.
Yeah. And then there's reality with Krista Marie, new member.
Thank you.
And then Nick Starro, guys, the Nick
Oh yeah,
Starro Trial Watch, the friendliest guy in Sweden.
I was gonna
Does
ask you about him. I watch his Twitter. He's funny as hell too. He's kind of
yes, he
funny.
is. Yes,
You
he's a
like him?
labor.
Good friend of you?
He's yeah, he's a labor attorney over in Sweden.
Oh, is
Yes.
he? He's
Yeah.
labor. See, I
hmm
love him now. I love him even more. I'm a big
hmm
labor guy.
Does a lot of union work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
UFCW. I've done a lot of work with them. I like them. Nick Starro. That they like you even more now, buddy. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Um, Nick, friend of the show, he says, "Hey, Mike, Sean and Mike. Sean, I'll send you a link for my show later. Mike, you are welcome to."
I wish I could
For
do it. I'm trying to take off after this show tonight. I'm trying to take
mhm.
off till like Monday because it's the
Oh, there you go.
girlfriend's birthday tomorrow, and
Oh, there you go.
so we got to spend
Happy
some time.
birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, happy birthday to her. Thank you
For
so much, Nick. I'd love to do it another night though. Definitely.
yeah, for 50 Swedish krona. Elise, I think that's how you do that. Says, is Sean operating out of Cleveland? Yes, the Cleveland area. Yes, on the east side of Cleveland. Lisa Newman says, how can we best support Turtle Boy?
He's got a Turtle Boy Defense Fund. That would be
Mm-hmm.
number one. Just Google it,
Mm-hmm.
Turtle Boy Defense Fund. It will pop right up. It's a give, send, go. I would consider that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're local, or even if you want to travel, July 7th is his next court date in Norfolk
Mm-hmm.
County. Let me say that again. Norfolk Superior Court, which is in Dedham, Massachusetts, and that's on July 7th at 2 p.m. His next court date. I also like share his stuff.
Yeah.
That's always a big
You
thing.
can also donate on the Turtle Chat forum. You can
Mhm.
do it that way too.
Yeah. And
Ways
you
you
can
can
also,
definitely
if you
support.
don't have any money, share his defense fund. Encourage your friends to donate.
Yeah, let people know if they know about Karen Reed. Remind them the story's not over.
Yeah, that's a
We
big thing,
still
especially all the Karen Reed people.
there's
Let
a
them
lot of
know
baseball left
they
to
gotta
play.
they gotta stick to Turtle Boy. Like
Yeah.
make sure all your Karen Reed supporters stick with this. Then that it's not over. Remind them it's not over. I think that's such a good suggestion. I'm glad you said that,
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah. It's the Karen's done, but we still got stuff to do. Smog and Mog for $10 saying sorry, wrong button there. There's got to be some arcane Jewish art that allows you to get an idea of what the jury's thinking. I wish there was. There's nothing. You might as well take a divining rod and see if you can get it to find water. There's no way to know what they're thinking. There's no way. if you know what they're thinking, you're pretty much, that means you got a stinker of a case because they're not buying your garbage.
You're not
And every
buying
once in a
it.
while that happens, but if it's a real case where it's in contention, you have no idea what they're thinking. So
That's got to be the hardest part, huh?
oh yeah, it is. I mean, and sometimes you think you have an idea based on the jury questions. Now this one, yeah, when they came back with the we're hypothetically, let's say we're on count number 5 of count 2 subsection 5, and we're confused about something. I'm like, okay, when I heard that and I was driving around going to court, I'm like, all right, well, it's game over now.
That's what I felt like. I was like,
Yeah.
yes. I was like,
But
yes. I was going there like,
oh yeah.
yeah.
But otherwise you don't. Sometimes you think you know what they're arguing about. A lot of times you don't.
Oh.
So jury questions can help. In trials where the jurors can ask questions after a witness is done testifying, those actually do help a lot because you can try to see what they're looking at.
Do they do that in Ohio?
Well, you're allowed. It's up to the judge. So some judges do it, a lot don't.
Mm.
So, but
and
yeah,
how
it
does
does
the
help.
jury decide? Does the jury like foreman decide the question? Or
No.
It's
There's
one at a time?
you got 14 people in the box.
They raise a hand.
No, everybody scribbles out on it. You have to turn in a sheet of paper with your number on it. So every time juror number 1 has to submit a slip of paper.
Okay.
And then they all get picked up and they all get sent over to the judge, and we go up and stand there, have a sidebar, and he's looking through them, and he's like, he says, okay, here are the ones that have questions, and he'll start reading through them, and we can object to it, or we can say that's fine. And then there's times where he'll rule on it and say, yeah, that's correct, I'll object, or your objection's overruled or sustained. But then there's funny times where I've had a case where the prosecutor and I were both like, yeah, let's ask that question. Judge is like, no, we're not doing it.
No.
Yeah, the judge decided, no, we're not doing it. But no, it all depends on the judge and how they handle it. It is, I think it can be helpful, and I think juries should have that right to fact find. Yeah, I think they should, because judges will ask, and
let's
maybe
get to the bottom of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would have, I think, really kind of set the tone for Karen Reed, especially now we know halfway through the trial, they're like, this is all bullshit. Yeah. It would have been so nice to know. Erica Thorpe says, do the YouTube things, do it for the Clyde chat. Well, I don't know where Clyde is right now. Clyde's my dog.
Who's Clyde? Is that your dog?
My dog, yeah. I think I hit him up when I brought him the last time. Let me see if I can grab him. Hold on. Hey, Clyde.
Charlie. How you doing, Charlie? I got my guy Charlie right here. And
come here, Bubba.
Come here, Charlie. Drink.
Come on. Hold on, let me see if I can get him here.
I know. That's what I'm doing. Come here. Come
on, Bubba. Come here. You're okay.
There's my guy.
Come on. You want to say hi to doggos? Come here. Oh. I think he's the lovely future Mrs. Martin 2.0 has got some.
Look at he's all furry tonight.
Oh,
wow. He needs a haircut again. He needs a haircut.
Ours just got all haircut.
Unfortunately, he won't let anyone groom him, so we have to do the sedation.
Oh.
Which I don't like to do. I don't want to do it again, but he needs it again.
Yeah.
Oh, he just stole a treat.
Oh.
Oh no! Did you hear that?
Yes.
You little growl. Oh my god!
What kind of dog is that?
He's a oh, what am I losing the name of it? A Pekingese.
Pekingese. Okay.
Yeah, he's. I call him the foster failure.
Oh, one of those. Yeah.
So basically, yeah, we used to work with the rescue, help him out, and he's a biter. He doesn't bite anymore, but like he was not adoptable. We knew he wouldn't make it with a family, so we're like, we love him and we can deal with him. We'll work with him. He'll get better, and he has gotten better.
Awesome,
but he's still a brat. My brat, I love him.
Yeah, Clyde's a brat, and we both love him too. So even when he comes to my door and then runs away to go eat, and then EDW Raptor says, "Do whatever Erica just said." Yes, thank you.
What did Erica say?
She said, "Do the YouTube thing, like, share, subscribe."
Yes,
yes. The juror 13 juror. It's good to see you, man. It's been a little while. Hope you're doing well. Says, if Richard Allen had this kind of coverage, he'd be free. I think he would have had a better chance. But are you familiar with that one at all, Richard Allen?
I know about it. I kind of have the basics, but I don't know every detail.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of one of those deals where if you guys thought Bev was bad, I could show you somebody who
Judge is even worse, right?
Oh, she
Yeah.
would have ate Bev's lunch in the, and this is a woman who it wasn't incompetence, it was maliciousness.
Mm.
So, but yes, I think it would have helped a lot. Jefferson Post says even the Cape has a different accent. Yeah. Hear ye, yes, hear ye, hear you, hear me. I do think that's kind of cool. Your guys in court, they do that. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Says WCVB, the Globe Spotlight team, investigate the NCDA, Norfolk County District Attorney. NBC Boston, where are you?
I think
Yeah.
NBC Boston's done the best job out of the three
Yeah.
of them.
Well, one of them,
WCV, horrible, terrible.
one of
Globe
them went up to his
Spotlight,
house and knocked
nothing.
on his door,
Yeah.
which
Who did that actually?
I think it was the WCVB guys, because Turtle Boy pointed it out. He's like, if I had done this, I'd have been charged with another felony.
That's right.
Blissful Essence for $10 says, please cover Birchmore. Glad I found your channel. I mean, yeah, I'd be interested in covering Sandra Birchmore, but it's gonna be less visual because it's a federal court case. But yeah, we'll go over the documents
It's
and
much harder
go
to
through that.
cover,
Yeah,
yeah, unfortunately. And it's
yeah,
so slow. There's nothing happening,
yeah. For right
so
now,
there's really nothing to cover. There's maybe one or two guests you can have on the show to talk
Mhm.
about, and that's
Yeah,
about it. It's hard to cover that right now,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. Manny B says hello, fellow ignored Pulitzer Prize winners. Jack Donnelly's a new member. Glenn Lake, who's been a member for 9 months, says,
Yeah, I
"Does
love
potentially
him.
criminal have a dog?" Yes,
Do you
I
know
do.
do you know about Glenn? He's a funny man.
No, no, I don't.
He's in our chat a lot. I like Glenn. Good
The
man.
closest thing I could show you, because this
Like a
actually is
chuckle.
pretty close to what Clyde looks like, minus the spacesuit. This is what Clyde looks
Aw.
like. And Clyde coin is the number one currency out there. It outpaces gold, outpaces inflation. So
You have your own coin?
it's a joke, but I wish we did. At times I wish we did, but yes, Clyde sells Clyde coins.
You're not doing any rug pulls, I'm guessing.
No, no, no. And let's see if I can get him there. Hey,
Did
Clyde,
you see that? Did
come
you
here,
see
bub.
that podcaster? What's his name? Adam 12 or whatever. He did
Oh yeah, Adam
rug
22.
pull.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
such a
The no
dirtbag.
jumper guy. Yes. Hey, Clyde,
CoffeeZilla's like, you're doing a rug pull and you're gonna get in trouble. And then he's
come here,
like, I
bud.
didn't know anything about it. It's like,
Well, there's him. There's a couple people that have done rug
oh,
pulls, and yeah,
oh,
they all, yeah, all the
they're all
crypto stuff. A lot of
dirtbags.
people need
Yes,
indicted for that.
yeah, rightfully so.
Yes, and then reality with Krista Marie for $10 is just a message to say hello, and this is a great discussion. Well, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Well, yes, Adam 22 is also a cock. Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, or pimp, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he's selling his wife now, basically.
Well, yeah, that whole
He's
thing is
he,
bad.
he's running out of money, so he needs to put her up on the
He, yeah, well, for a while he's like, I'm doing it for fun, but now I can make
yeah.
money off it.
Yeah, now he's like, I need the money, I'm going bankrupt.
Yeah. Which they had so much money. I still can't understand when people piss it all away.
Yeah, it's stupid. Stupidity.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Look forward to I know the story's not over yet, and I look forward to talking to you and seeing you coming up, because I know there's still a lot more to go here. So do you have any other comments, kind of like parting shots or anything?
Um, Not too much. I'm doing a show on next Young Jerk show is going to be on Monday night.
Okay.
And just to let everyone know, because a lot of people think Coffin Daffer is coming on the show. It's not Coffin Daffer. It's a retired FBI agent
I
named
thought this
Jodine
too.
Weber. I should have put maybe her name in the title.
Yes.
I guess her picture looks a little similar to Coffin Daffer, but if you look in the description, her name is in there. We're going to be talking about
Yeah.
Jennifer Coffin Daffer with a retired
Somebody
ex
say thank
FBI
God.
agent who isn't Jennifer Coffin Daffer. So should be a great show. I'm looking forward to it. It's first time she's coming on. She looks awesome. Like I've seen some of her commentary. When you have a first time guest,
Yeah.
I always get excited, and especially when you know it's going to be a good one. So Monday
Hmm.
night, 6 p.m. with Jonine Weber, I believe is how I say her name. I'm excited to
Yes.
have her on the show. Should be fun.
Yes. Uh yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
Aaron thought that too.
Yeah, no, it's a couple of my people thought the same thing about Coffee-Dapper, and I was
Not
like,
co
"Oh no, Mike's." The people are gonna think
Yeah, they were
you're
getting
switching
mad. Some people
sides.
get mad.
Turncoat, disloyal.
Come on, you
You
guys
need
folks should know me by now.
yeah,
I am all about loyalty. I
yes.
am.
They say you need a fresh Betero show.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm
Yeah, I
sure that's
mean,
coming. I'm sure that's
yeah,
coming.
eventually.
A lot of
It's just,
time, guys.
I
A lot of time
yeah,
coming up.
yeah.
Right now, they got to worry about kicking ass. So,
It's funny because I did hit up Betterell maybe like 2 or
hmm
3 days ago, and he can get back to me. Usually he does, and
hmm
I just have a feeling he's probably all talked out because you know, it's like when you go like when nothing much has happened.
hmm
It's like he's gonna go on my show and basically say the same stuff he just said on Nurse Kim.
yeah,
So I think maybe he just needs a little time for new stuff to happen before you
yeah,
hear from
and
Betterell
and
again. We'll
and
see.
chat. While we're not saying this is like doing roofing or doing concrete work, this can get tiring when you do it a ton.
Yeah.
This can be exhausting, especially when you're the center of attention on the shows.
Yeah, especially when 10, 15, 20,000 people watching every word you
Yeah.
say. It's
Yes.
weird. It gets weird.
Yes.
I gotta say, like, I like it. I love when Betterell's on the show,
hmm
but it does feel different. And for him, it's like that every show, right? Like every
Yeah.
no matter where he goes, he's getting that kind of audience, So
hmm
it's interesting.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, that is it for me. We are gonna go. For the guys, you guys who follow me, we're gonna go over to the model channel. We're gonna work on I do models for fun, so
Oh,
we're
nice.
gonna tonight. We're gonna
What are
do
you doing?
something different. We're gonna learn. You're gonna follow me as I try to learn how to make like structures. So like when you make a model and it's like in front of a brick wall or next to a brick wall, how do you make the brick wall?
Mm,
We're gonna try that. I gotta go pick up the foam from Home Depot to work on it, and yeah, next Tuesday got Jess Machado coming on, and
nice.
we'll be back to the normal schedule starting on Monday. So back to it, and then 4th of July Friday, which is always awesome.
Oh, I can't believe we're already getting into July,
I
July
know
4th.
it's summer's already over at this point.
Yeah,
That's how I look at it.
that's
So
what it feels like.
yeah,
Once you hit July 4th, it's over very quickly. It's weird.
yes. All right, guys. Well, with that said, I just remember until next time, chat. Just because you did it does not mean you're guilty, and that still applies to Karen Reed. Still applies to Turtle Boy. Still applies to a lot of people. Although Grant, Kate, the P color house guy, you're all guilty of being cringe. You're guilty of being scumbags.
I
But
like
everybody
that.
else, you're cool. So good night, chat, and take care.
I love that. Guilty of cringe and scumbags.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?